Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Joe Emilio Show. In today's episode, we're going to have a panelist discussion later on in the evening. We'll be joined by some great minds. We're going to be talking about EFF versus Afriforum. We're going to look at what the EFF was trying to do to Afriforum today in court. We're also going to be talking about the KZN riots. There's been a report released. There's a lot to talk about in that. And we're also going to be talking about black excellence. What is that, and why do some people have gripe against it? And of course, you're going to share some time with me at the beginning of the show where I'll show you what happened to me when I opened up for Barry Hilton. In just a moment. With all that, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. And we're back. I'm loving this new kind of way of doing things, you know, with the whole little like what's coming up and all that stuff. I think it's pretty cool. So while we wait for some people to tune in, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've had a lovely Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right? Yes, it is Tuesday. I can't believe it's Tuesday. Like, it feels like a Thursday. This week has been rough and it's only Tuesday, man. I don't even know. I don't know how I'm going to make it for the rest of the week. But anyway, just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, the show is changing up. It is now 2 hours. This is the second episode of this format. It's 2 hours. First hour with me. Second hour, depending on the day. If it's a Monday, the second hour is with a guest. I had John Endres on last night. Sorry. And interesting conversation, very fascinating. Great guy. Great guy. I will be uploading his interview on its own later on this week. So you guys don't have to watch the whole 2 hour episode. I know some of you might roll your eyes, but oh my God, I have to watch 2 hours. No, you don't. It's fine. I will upload everything later. And I see Pro Wrestling is in the house. And Ian Van Sale. Hello, Ian. Nice of you to join. Thank you so much. And Anti-Marx is also here, as well as G Sawyer and Pro Wrestling David, who's also going to be on my show. I was asking you, David, yesterday, but I think you logged off before I got to your comment. What time is it in your area right now? Because we need to sort out a time that is convenient for me and you, because David's going to be on my show. We're going to talk wrestling and a whole lot of other stuff, which I'm very much looking forward to. So yeah, let me know, David, what time it is in your place right now, and then we'll figure out a time. But he's only coming on in March. But anyway, as I was saying, Monday, there's going to be one guest in the second hour. Tuesday is going to be a panelist discussion, and we're going to change the panelists every Tuesday. Next week, I haven't finalized the panelists, but I can say that Ernst Van Sale will be joining me. He's one that is confirmed, along with Rob Hutchinson from DRSA. And there's two others that I'm waiting for confirmation, but we're going to be talking about the fight to end the state of disaster. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. So do tune into that next week, Tuesday. This Tuesday, we're going to have a panelist discussion. I'll get into a bit more of that in a bit later. And then Thursdays, as always, is an hour with me, and then an hour with the comedians, the boys, where we either roast the headlines or we talk a lot of cock and review some and make fun of TikTok videos. That's always a lot of fun. Late night chat or say what, comedians roast the headlines. Speaking of which, I am going to move the times starting from Thursday. The shows are going to start at 7. I can't do 6 p.m. anymore, guys. I can't. I've been trying for I know I've only been doing this for 2 shows. 6 p.m.'s killer, man. 6 p.m.'s rough, and it's like dinner time for me, and it's not. I'm push it just an hour later, because now I have to do work when I'm done with the stream. And had I had just that extra hour, I would have been done with my work, you know. So, 7 p.m. and I also think it's more convenient for some of you guys out there watching as well. So, starting from this Thursday, 7 p.m. the show starts until 9 p.m. That's the slot now. I think I'll be happy with that. I think you guys are also going to be happy with that. So yeah, let's see what. Okay, so it's 10 a.m. So when it's 6 p.m. in South Africa, it's 10 a.m. for you. So you can't. It's not convenient for you to be interviewed now, is it? Okay, we're gonna have to figure this one out. I'm trying to find a time that's convenient for you. Otherwise, we may have to move the date to a weekend, because I think we chose a Monday or a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. We may have to do it on a Saturday. I think that's going to be better for both of us, because I really want to chat to you, man. I haven't had a decent wrestling conversation with someone in a very long time. And yes, I am a wrestling fan. Not so much now. I do like, what's it, AWE? What was it? I feel so bad that I don't remember the name. CM Punk's there. The one where CM Punk is at. I'm a huge CM Punk fan. Love that guy. What WWE did to him was just injustice. It's old news now, but he's back. And yeah, that's the. We don't get that though. You know, America, you get like you like you're in there. You know, you get to go to the shows and stuff. Us here, we only get WWE, and it's not the same. It's just not the same. But anyway, I would love to have a chat with the pro wrestling guy, David. Mork Rock Show. That one sounds familiar. I believe I know you. Wicked cool show, my guy. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for tuning in. Please. Mork Rock. I think I know you. If I'm not I'm actually going to check now. I think I know who this guy is, if I'm not mistaken. And I know all I have to do is just... Oh, speaking about wrestling, apparently it's the Big Show's birthday today, so happy birthday to the Big Show. Mork Rock. I knew it. Yes. I knew it. I knew this was you. You gotta come on my show, man. I've been wanting to invite you for a very long time. Mork Rock. We gotta make plans. DM me. Okay. Make it happen. Maybe pre-recorded one. Nah, man. We'll make it happen. Look, I'm flexible. Like, I know I say Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays. Like, that is, like, the solid what shows. But, I mean, I'm flexible with my guests, you know? Even if it's... I mean, we can do a Saturday show, and it's just me and you. You know, it's fine. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. Pro's 8 hours behind you. Thank you. CM Punk is a hometown hero, man. I know. Wrestling. How's the gym going, Joe? Looking more healthy and refreshed. Oh, thank you, G Sawyer. Thank you for noticing. How's it going? Wait, it's not. I don't know. I'm gonna feel so embarrassed now because like I got nothing. I don't think I got much. Like this is small, but it's growing. If I do this, I don't know, man. I got a bit of pecs. There's a little bit. It's growing, man. It's getting there. It's getting there. I think I'm starting to notice a difference. I bought jeans 3 years ago. They were nice Levi jeans. Okay. Love them. Like, I don't know why. Nothing special. Literally blue Levi jeans. But for some reason, I fell in love with them. Bought them 3 years ago. Could not fit in them. Like, I couldn't close the button. It was like 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters away. Tried them on this past weekend and they fit snug. I mean, it's a bicky tight, but just a bicky, but they still, and I was like, oh my God, I like posted about it wearing them and I was like so excited. And that's how I know, because like when I look at myself in the mirror, I don't see a difference. I still see fat. I feel like I'm not losing, but my clothes are telling me otherwise, which is good. I can see the camera's also doing better tonight than it was last night. Last night, my picture was blurry. Now it's looking much better, so that's good. So yeah, gym's going good. I haven't gone today. I went yesterday. I'm probably only going to go Thursday and Friday. I go at least 3 times a week. If I can, I'll do more, but 3 times a week I try and go. Last week I wasn't able to. I was moving house. New setup. For those of you who just tuned in, it's a new setup. So yeah. Ciao. Of course, anytime. Cool. Yeah, just DM me. We'll make it happen. I've checked out your YouTube channel as well. So, guys, go subscribe to the Mork Rock Show. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Cool content. Go check it out. Yeah, that's his little icon there. Click on it. Subscribe. You know what to do. By now. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe as well. Oh, man. All right. So for the first hour, we've got quite a bit to get through, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if I should start with the funny stuff first or the headline. There's like 2 headlines that I thought I'd share with you guys. But let me also talk to you about what's coming up. So later on this evening, 7 p.m., we're going to have 4 other guests. So it's me and 4 other guests. We're going to have Serena, I think her name is. I know her as S on Twitter. Like, that's literally her name, S. Not much to go on. But yeah, so there's Serena, and she's awesome on Twitter. Like, you guys, I think if you go in the description, I have linked everyone's all my guests' Twitter accounts are there. You can go check them out in the description below. Go check them out. Serena, she doesn't hold any punches, man. She's hardcore. And then we've got Koketsa Rosane from Man Patria. He's going to be joining us as well. Xavier Bapu is also going to be joining us. And the Dodgy Idealist. If you're on Twitter, you will know, or you would have come across these profiles before. If you're not on Twitter very often, you won't know who they are. Chances are you don't know. Let's be honest. But they're cool individuals, fun individuals. We're going to have, we're going to be talking about, what the EFF did today with Afriforum. There's a video that we'll show later. And then we're also going to be talking about this article that came out, which I'll show later, about its title, Zoomapocalypse. Zoomapocalypse, that's the title, and talking about the riots that happened in July and who's really responsible. So we're going to be talking about that, and then we're going to be talking about somewhat controversial topic apparently. Black excellence. And now I'm going to say this again. I'm not too. The first time I heard that term was this weekend. Okay, and yeah. So I'm not sure what that term means. I've been told it's a bad term. Some people say no, it's actually a good term. So we're going to discuss that. No malice, and I gotta say that, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you know, there's no malice here. We're just gonna have a nice open. I want this platform to be, or at least Tuesday evenings, actually any evening, really, to be a space where people can have honest and healthy debates, discussions, whatever, about certain topics. You know, and I left it up to my panelists to decide on what they wanted to talk about, and this is one of the topics they wanted to talk about. So I was like, okay, cool, let's talk about it. Like, why are we scared these days to talk about things? You know, we used to be, as human beings, we used to like want to talk about everything and anything. Now it's like, oh, I'm so scared to talk about this. No, you're gonna get canceled. No, you're gonna offend someone. It's impossible not to offend anyone. Like, I know as a comedian, being on stage, anything can offend people. Like, really, I mean, the simplest joke can offend someone, and you have a right to be offended, but you don't have a right to take away my freedom of speech because you're offended. I don't believe in that. You can tell me that you're offended. You have the right to voice that, and I can decide if it justifies an apology or not. But we'll see. Cool. So we'll talk about, I'm going to do a show on cancel culture in the future, and we'll talk more about that and what people are allowed and not allowed to talk about. So we'll chat more about that in the future. But yeah. So should I do the funny bit first, or should I do the headline first? Let me just, while you guys let me know in the comment section, I'm just gonna reply to this quickly. Get your hair done. I know that sounds very random to you guys, but yeah. Just replying to a message. All right, so let's start with the headlines, and then we'll go into the funny stuff. I think that's a good idea. All right, so this is a headline I saw this today, 7th of February. It was released 7th of February. Today's 8th, but yeah. And I like what Behave says here. Offense is never given, only taken. Exactly. I mean, that just says it all right there. All right, so VAT and other tax hikes could fund new basic income grant for South Africa. They're still talking about this basic income grant. I know that is going to already trigger some people like, basic income grant is great, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not, because we're already taxed to death in this country, ladies and gentlemen. Taxed to death in this country. Anybody who pays income tax knows it's ENA. Like, when they take the income tax, when you get paid a salary, it hurts, man. It it hurts. You know, like So now they want to add more tax in order to fund, you know, the basic income grant, and I think this is going to be a disaster move for the ANC. I mean, it's weird to me. The ANC knows they're on their way out, below 50% in municipal votes. They might do a little bit better in nationals, but not that much. They'll probably still be below 50%, and yet they are still pushing for these ideologies and these policies that do nothing but really just really hurt people. And I know the wokies and the communists out there will say, yeah, but don't you care about the poor people, Joe? What about the poor people, Joe? Guys, what are you going to do when there is no tax base? What then? Huh? Because right now you're relying on the tax base to fund this stuff, right? What are you going to do when there's no tax base? Huh? Then what? Then what's going to happen? No. This is ludicrous. This is another way. And I mean, come on, guys. I would, and people always like to use the example of, was it Netherlands or Holland or I don't know, one of these European countries that have an awesome welfare system. And yes, they do. But there's a lot that goes on in that system that South Africa doesn't have yet. For example, shit works in Europe. You know what I mean? Like the systems work. Like for example, we were told, I have a friend in Europe, right, in Netherlands who stays there. All right, they're telling me yes, they do. They get taxed hectically, but stuff works, right? So the hospital's good. If you change your address somewhere in the system, right, it automatically changes everywhere, so you cannot hide. All right. I know people who have different addresses with their banks and different addresses with their business, different addresses with I don't know what, and their phone bill and whatever other bill. You can't do that in Europe. You can't. Because it works. And that's one of the big things people don't understand. We have infrastructures that are not working at the moment. Eskom, for crying out loud, cannot supply electricity. Now you want to suck the taxpayers dry, not just of electricity bills as well, because that's also going to go up. Petrol prices going up. Everything's going up. Now you want to add tax. You want to make tax go up. Are you insane? This is like the worst thing and the worst timing the ANC could do this. And I don't understand why they're pushing for this. They all try and say it under, yeah, we're trying to help the poor, You know, we were discussing it last night with John Enders. You know, we said it last night. You need to implement policies for businesses to operate in a free market society. And the free market society in South Africa has never been done before. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but that's the truth. I just want to get to some of these comments. Comments are raining in. I'm so happy. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me just have a look at some of the comments that have come in. Let's see here. There's a lot of people. Hey, Rainer Joshua is on, a celebrity on Twitter. Sort of. He's late, but he's here. Thank you, Rainer, so much for tuning in, buddy. G Sawyer saying someone will always be offended. Do the offended represent the majority or merely a vocal social media minority? As long as free speech does not incite hatred or violence, it's all good. And I 100% agree with your statement. That's exactly how I live my life. I'm on Troll Watch. I know. Yeah, I think one of them was here yesterday, Rainer. You missed out. But I banned them because they were trolling hard. Ian saying, hey. Rainer saying, hello, Habibi. Yeah, so the ANC in a race to destroy tax base, then blame minorities afterwards. Cyril is the head of the dead ANC snake. No, I would tend to agree with that. Most people in Europe, yeah, but it works, right? Like, it works. It's just different. I wouldn't mind paying taxes the way we do if we received good infrastructure, but that's my point. And I'm you know what, Ian, I'm on your side here. That's exactly what I mean. If the government didn't steal everything, right, and we had proper infrastructure, ESCOM was working, everything was fine, then yeah, I'd pay the tax. Why not? Welfare is not a bad thing, guys. Nearly every first world country has welfare, and most of it does work for the most part. But when you try and do welfare that is trying to buy the votes and is not really enriching people, you're not giving, it's that old, what's that metaphor or saying, all you're doing is giving the people fish. That's all you're doing. You're giving them the fish, giving them, rather than teaching them how to fish, and then they can, eat for the rest of their lives and not rely on you. But no, the government wants people to rely on you. So, yeah. Nordic countries also don't have a 40% plus unemployment rate, and they don't, and 49% of their population on and they don't have 49%. Yeah, exactly. But that's all these. See, this is what a lot of the socialist, communist guys don't talk about when they try and defend this big income grant thing. They don't talk about these stats, and those stats are very, very important. Rather than looking at what is actually the problem, which is the ANC and causing all this. They are the reason for all this poverty. They are the reason why people are suffering so much. Instead of looking at the real problem, the ANC is trying to, oh no, we just need a basic income grant, guys, and then everybody's going to be happy. You'll be able to. The basic income grant or even the social grants are an insult, to be honest. Let's be fair. 350 rand, guys, is how much some people are getting. 300. Just take a moment to really digest the value of 350 rand. A month. Not every day, a month. That's how much the government expects you to live off a month. 350 rand. In some grants. I know other grants you get more. So, yeah. But that's the other thing, I heard child income grant or something like that is 500 rand. So when you have to apply for that, then you apply for your COVID one. So that's 350 rand. So you got 850 rand. Then I think there's another social grant of some kind. So you apply for all of them and you hopefully get 1,000 odd, which still isn't enough to live on, by the way. So yeah. Well, sorry. No, it's okay. We deciphered it. It's okay. Give a man to fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Exactly. Thank you, Behave. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Welfare should not be an objective of government. Instead, the ANC creating the very conditions which require welfare. Exactly. You guys are with me today. I can feel it. You guys are with me. We're on the same wavelength. I love it. But anyway, apparently tax hikes are coming. So prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It's it's gonna be rough, man. It's gonna be rough. I don't know. I'm trying to see if they've said by how much. They only say how much they need to fund the grant would result in okay, here we go. I found it. All right, so it's right here. Oh man, now I lost it. There we go. Would result in an approximate average increase in effective tax rates at 8.2%. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, that's a lot. That's a lot. Funded through okay, so they'll probably also try and reallocate some stuff, which that's just code for we're gonna move money around so that we can steal some of it while we do that, and then give the rest to poor people. That's probably what's gonna happen. Boy. All right, next headline. I thought this was a funny headline. Let me just before I go there, let me look at some of the comments coming in. Price of 6 streetwise. That's mean. But kind of true. Grants are not enough to live from, but too much to starve completely. Yep. All right, so let's look at this other headline. I thought this was entertaining. Cape judge rules that woman has no right to evict her ex from property neither owns. I mean, just when you thought you read it all, right? I don't know if anybody saw the headline I shared yesterday. That one was a doozy. But yeah, so apparently a woman went to the court to evict her former boyfriend from an informal settlement dwelling on a plot of land neither of them owned. How did she get to court? Like, how? She must have represented herself, because I don't think a lawyer would have gotten involved in this, because there's no way a lawyer would have looked at that case and been like, you know what, you have something here. We're gonna win. So they went empty-handed. She had no right to lodge the action. So yeah, that's... So friend granted Adams permission to erect a home on an empty plot in the area where she and her husband had lived for some years before they dismantled their dwelling and moved elsewhere. Building stages, however, the relationship ended in July 2020. Adams told Manuel he was no longer welcome to take up residence with her once her home was completed. Nevertheless, Manuel moved on to the plot, told Adams he was doing so to protect the partially constructed dwelling from vandalism. That's a good excuse. So your girl says, it's done, it's over, I don't want to date you anymore. And you justify staying by, you know what, I just want to protect the house. That's really it. I just want to protect the house. It's South Africa, shit happens. You need protection, I'll be your protection. A valid excuse, I think. Man. Well, apparently Adams initially refused, but subsequently agreed in the belief that the protection order she was applying for against Manuel would force him out. However, the interim protection order she attained only directed Manuel not to enter the applicant's residence at a different address. Oops. Did not order Manuel to vacate the dwelling. Yeah. Yeah, so imagine that. She didn't even own the plot of land. Like, that's the biggest... Yeah. Wait, what does that say? I acknowledge that this is a hard luck case. But cases do not fail to be determined on sympathy. Yeah, well, there you go. Who said that? Illegal, okay. There we go. Judge. Yeah, well, I mean, play stupid games, get stupid prizes, right? Is that how the saying goes? So yeah. Let's see. She can evict him from the shack, but not the land. Yeah, pretty much. I think, I don't know. That's a weird one for me. Oh man. Anyway, so in half an hour, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a panel discussion. Like I said, it's going to be Serena. I think her name is Serena. Let me double check, because I might be pronouncing her name so wrong right now. And I feel bad. Because, again, her name, Serena. I was close. Serena. Serena. S-R-I-N-A. Serena. Serena? I'm sure it's Serena. Okay, so Serena is going to be with us. Koketsa is going to be with us. Dodgy Idealist and Xavier Papa are going to be with us. We're going to be talking about... I'll show you the headline that we're going to be talking about, so you guys can get amped for that. This is what we're going to be talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just do that. Zoom Apocalypse essays damage far deeper than 100 billion rand wiped out by a single man's legacy. This is you can see in the top corner, expert panel report on the July violence. So we're going to be talking about that. So one of the topics we're going to be talking about. And we're also going to be talking about what happened today at court with the EFF and Afriforum. Some insane stuff as always. And black excellence. We're also going to be talking about. I know some people get triggered just hearing that word. But we're going to have a nice casual, maybe the wrong word. But we're going to, respectful. That's the word I'm looking for. Respectful discussion on the topic, because apparently it's bad. But then apparently it's good. I don't know. I'm just going what people have told me from what I've read. It's another term. Sounds to me like another term that the woke have hijacked. So we're gonna be talking about that. Apparently it's very controversial in South Africa. I didn't even know. But these are the kind of topics we're going to be talking about on the panel nights next week. Ladies and gentlemen, Ernst van Sale will be with me from Afriforum, as well as Rob Hutchinson and two other people who I'm waiting for confirmation. We're going to be talking about their fight to end the state of disaster, along with some other topics that will probably come up. That's next week's panel discussion. And there'll be other great discussions in the future. I really look forward to the Tuesday evenings and the Thursday evenings, of course, with the comedians. But Tuesday is also a lot of fun. Next week, Monday, I don't think I have a guest. I actually don't think I'm streaming next week, Monday. It's Valentine's Day, so I'll be busy. But we'll be back on Tuesday with the assistant to the mayor of Cape Town, Dwayne. He's going to be with us. We're going to be talking about what does it mean to be liberal in 2022. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Pretty much, you're right. You're not wrong about that, G Sawyer. Anyway, I want to share with you guys something that happened to me this past weekend. I don't know who knows, but I opened up for Barry Hilton this past weekend at the Playhouse Theatre in Somerset West. Awesome venue. Nice little community venue, community theater. Beautiful and awesome time, man. Just great evenings. And it was great to be on stage again. But I wanted to share with you guys. I recorded my set. I always record my set because I go back and I watch and I critique myself and all that. So I recorded my set, and I was glad I did, particularly with this evening, because something happened that has never happened to me before while being on stage. And I enjoyed this moment, so I wanted to share it with you guys. We're going to watch the entire joke so that you have context. And then I'll explain, if you guys didn't catch it, what the amazing moment was. Gavin, good to see you here, buddy. Good to see you here. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, like I said, 7 p.m. panel discussion coming up. But let's see. You guys enjoy this stand-up comedy special evening. I guess you could say that. Well, this little snippet from it. Like, one of the things I have to also get used to was some of the lingo here, you know? Like, for example, robots. What's going on, guys? Seriously. Have you not seen iRobot, Terminator, Transformers? No, doesn't exist here. Because I got directions once. Staying next to Tiger Valley. You guys remember? You know Tiger Valley, right? Yeah. You misspelled Tiger, I'm just letting you know. But I wanted to go to Tiger Valley because my uncle was like, "Hey Joe, do you want to go to Tiger Valley?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go to a zoo. Let's do this. I'm ready." And then he's like giving me directions, right? Okay, you're gonna get out of the complex, you turn right. You're gonna to South Street, you're gonna turn left. Then you're gonna get to a set of robots. And that blew my mind because I thought RoboCop was directing traffic. Like, how did I miss this? Run, right, left, where? Those are traffic lights. Where are the robots? I stopped one of these joggers, right? These health freaks. When you stop a jogger, they don't just stand there and listen to you. They stand there like this. What, really? Can you just calm down? I'm losing weight just watching you. Can you just... All I want to know is where are these robots everyone keeps talking about? Looks at me like I'm crazy because they're right behind me. He's like, there, bro. No, those are traffic lights. Yeah, bro, are you stupid? No, I'm American, that's not the point. So I'm a little bit in denial, guys, a little bit in denial. Because I'm hoping, I'm watching these robots. And I'm hoping that someone's going to go through a red light. And then Optimus Prime pops out like, Autobots, roll out. Didn't happen. I think it's kind of cool that you guys call them robots, though. Think about it. Just think about it for a second. South Africa never ever has to worry about a robot uprising. The worst that can happen is we're like late for work, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a big deal. But let's pretend for a second that robots really were here. Terminator, Transformers, iRobot, they're all here. They're all about to destroy Parliament, right? And we're like, yeah, woohoo, woohoo, new government, woohoo! And just before they press the button to nuke it, just before they press that button, that's the first time that it's ever happened. Ladies and gentlemen, the person who writes my jokes. Never met her before, but yeah. Load shedding. Even Arnold would be like, I'll be back in 2 hours. All right, so in case you didn't okay, so I wanted you guys to watch the whole thing so you could get the context of the joke. So at the end of that joke, I always pause, when I say it just before they nuke it, and then the line is load shedding. And someone in the audience said it before I got there. And it was a beautiful moment, I thought. After the show, I asked if they had watched me before, and they said no. It's just where their mind went. And I was like, well, that's awesome. And yeah, it's never happened to me before the show. And I like the way I rolled with the punches and improv'd a little bit there. It's moments like that that really, it's moments like that I really enjoy in stand-up comedy when you don't plan for that. And it was a pretty cool moment, man. It felt great to be back on the stage, and especially in a theater setting. It was amazing. So Barry, thank you so much for allowing me to open up for you. I will be opening up for Barry Hilton again this weekend in Somerset West Playhouse. He's so popular that they opened up another 2 evenings, and they asked me. They said hey, do you want to? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I was like, yeah, duh. So I'll be opening up for Barry Hilton once again this weekend. I don't know if tickets are sold out. I believe Friday was already sold out. I think Saturday there was still some tickets left. So yeah. Please, if you're in the Somerset West area and you have time on Saturday evening, do buy some tickets. Come say hi to me. We normally hang out before and after the show with the people, so it'll be cool to see you guys there. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little moment with you guys. I thought it was really fun. There's other moments that I'll probably be sharing later on my YouTube channel, so keep an eye on that, as well as TikTok and other social medias. Corlia Vandermerper, assuming. Hiya, Joe. Hiya, how are you? G Sawyer saying, creating magic on stage. Thank you very much. It was really awesome, man. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys could hear. I had to increase the volume a little bit, just to make sure you guys could hear it. In about 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be having a panelist discussion. You can look in the description if you want to look up who these panelists are. You can give them a follow on Twitter. Their links are in the description. Coquetto is from Manpatria, and that is also linked in the description next to his name, the Manpatria podcast. Go give that a sub on YouTube A lot of great conversations happen on that podcast as well. And speaking of which, man, Petra, the whole team are going to be with me in March. I think it's the 15th of March. The whole team's going to be with me, which is good because that's a Tuesday. So they'll be the panelists for that Tuesday. So that's going to be fun. So yeah. Did you get his autograph? No, I probably should next time I'm with him. So yeah. Gavin asking, gym going well? It's going very well. Someone asked that a bit earlier as well, and I kind of showed my very flimsy kind of. It's there. I mean, I don't know. Does this look like I have guns? Not really, not yet. Like I've got muscles. I still feel fat, but the clothes are fitting better. I told people I had bought jeans like 3 years ago that now fit me. So that's cool. I never thought I would fit into those jeans, to be honest. I was keeping them as kind of like a dream, like a goal that would probably never be reached. But then the other day, boom, put them on, and I was like, they fit. The button closes and everything. It's a biggie tight, but it's not like tight though. Like that's the thing. It's like snug. It like wraps around my body. Like if I gained a kilo or two, I wouldn't fit in it. So yeah, hopefully that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna lose more weight. Fits in them even better. So yeah, Gavin saying looking good though. Thank you, man. That's the thing. I also set my mind, and I think anybody who's trying to lose weight, this is my advice. One, diet, but find a diet that works for you. There's so many diets out there these days. I try and do the carnivorous diet. I love meat, so I'm trying to do that, and I do intermittent fasting. So I eat only from 12 to 8, pretty much. And that diet's quite flexible, not too flexible, but it's something that I feel I can work with. I enjoy it. It's something I can sustain, and that's the trick. You know, the moment you start going into these hectic diets that are almost impossible to sustain, you're gonna fall off the wagon. You're gonna pick up the weight again. So find a diet that works for you. Research, and also like do a diet for a little bit, but also keep in mind that you're also gonna have to change your lifestyle. Like that's the thing. It's a lifestyle change. So I'm starting to eat more natural foods than the box stuff or the stuff that has like a lot of sugar and all that stuff. Like sugar is a big one to get rid of. So all this stuff, just find what works for you and stick to it, because that's at the end of the day what's really going to help. And then exercise. I try and exercise 3 times a week. I go to the gym 3 times a week. But if I can, I'll go more, but definitely at least 3 times a week. I went yesterday. I'll probably go on Thursday and Friday this week as well. So yeah. I met them. They're pretty cool oaks. I'm not gonna lie. Francois is a really cool guy. I'm gonna see if he can. I was trying to invite him on the show. I'm sure he remembers me. But yeah, I emceed a gig for them once. Really cool guys. So yeah, I really like their music too. Good music. Jesse's back. Hello, Jesse. Thank you so much for tuning in again, buddy. It's good to see you here. Kid Fury. Trying to figure out if you got a haircut or I shaved my beard. That's probably what. Because you're looking at me like something's different, but I don't know what it is. I shaved my beard, dude. I hope I, eased your pain and your suffering. And look who's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Amy Justine LaRue. I need to get her on the show. Got some very important things to talk about regarding Amy Justine LaRue. Some hectic things have happened to her, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now. But Amy, if you can, drop in that link. Please support her cause. All the details are in there. And you can support her cause. Like I said, go to the link. It's all explained there. Some crazy stuff happened. I will have her on the show in the future when she's ready to talk about what happened It's insane stuff, guys. Insane stuff, really is. So yeah, but just I was called her Justine now. Amy, thank you for tuning in. You look younger. Well, I mean, that's what a beard does, right? I mean, like, I don't know. I like this look. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm always honest on this channel. Like, and sometimes I'm too honest for my own good. But I have a bit of a skin problem. I do take medication for it. But if I grow my beard too long, my skin gets really irritated, like really, really irritated. So I have to shave it at some point. Like, yeah. So that's why. I wish I could grow a beard. I wish I could grow a beard like Chris Wyatt. I really do. If I could, I would. I really would. And don't tell me about beard oil, because I went to a dermatologist with skin. It's a dermatologist, right? And I asked about that, and they said beard oil is the worst thing I could do for my skin. So before anyone goes there, I've already double checked. Oh, okay. Hold on, Amy. I will sort you out right now. Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. I don't know if you guys heard that now, but let me just sort out M's. There we go. You are now a moderator, Amy. You can drop in your link. Just wanted to do that quickly. Anybody else want to be a moderator, seeing as I'm here? Bapu, let's make you, and we'll give you that right as well. And Gavin, why not? Give Gavin Kid Fury. I'm hesitant, but I'll do it. But if you abuse the powers, you're going to be demoted immediately. I'm just saying, Kid Fury. And for fun, Mork, you can also, why not? And Jesse, you also get the powers of a moderator. Now, if you're asking what a moderator does on my YouTube channel, anytime you see a troll account, don't give chances. Don't give chances. Just ban them immediately. This is a troll woke-free zone, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah. You don't even have to ask. You just do. All right. Anytime there's a troll on this channel, you just get rid of them. This is a zero tolerance troll woke area. That's all I'm saying. So yeah. And I see everybody's excited because like everybody now is everybody watching now is a mod. Mork, did I do it for you? Yeah, everyone gets a mod. You get a mod. You get a mod. Rainer too. Yeah, Rainer didn't comment though. Is Rainer still watching? Of course. I'll have to go up. There we go. There he is. Okay. I don't know if he's still watching, but there we go. He's a mod now. Ian, even you, my friend. Even you. I gotta get you. Ian, if you're still watching, I want to have you as a guest on my show. We must talk. We must talk. Anti-Marxist as well. He's been watching me for the longest time. Behave. Even you, my friend. Even you. Just don't. G Sawyer. Why not? Literally everyone now is getting mods. Oprah style, yeah. Why not? I mean, there was a... You probably shouldn't. I don't even trust myself that much. No, it's cool, man. Look, again, all you have to do is... what's this? Ian and Joe should do a duet. Singing. If it's singing, you don't want me to sing. Like, that's a bad idea. Just saying. How long do you have your channel now? My channel started the first day lockdown started, literally. I started my first live stream was as we were going into lockdown. Like, as the time, I still remember I had no equipment. I was using my onboard webcam, no microphone, and I was just streaming. And it was like, I think 11:30 on the Thursday. I think it was a Thursday evening. and I recorded up until after that midnight basically. So yeah, that's how long this channel's been going, literally since the first day of lockdown. So if you go to SABC and you see how many days of lockdown we're in, that's how many days this channel's been up. That's what I do if I ever wanted to see how long I've been on. Like, let me see SABC quickly. Yeah. I'm glad to see everybody's happy to be moderator. Hey, remember guys, with great power comes great responsibility, and you annihilate the trolls and you annihilate the wokies. Okay. So yeah. Kid Fury, you have me confused with someone else, my friend. Like, really. Adele, no. You clearly did not watch the one Christmas special I did where I actually sang Michael Bublé. Like, yeah. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Amy has posted her link. Like I said, I will have Amy on the show. We'll go into more depths about this story. But if you haven't watched it yet, she did do a show with Ronaldo, where Ronaldo and Chris White were chatting to her about her story. So I do, Amy, if you have a link to that show, you can post it in the chats. But yeah, you can get all the details there. But I will have her on the show when she's ready to chat more about what happened. Yeah. But please go support. Please, please, please. On the 26th of March, 2 years of lockdown. Well, there you go. And it's 2 years of this channel. It's like a bittersweet thing because it's like, yay, 2 years of YouTube. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, lockdown. Do you think we're actually going to get to 26 though? I mean, to 2 years? Do you think we're going to... March is like a month away though. There's a big possibility. A lot of rumors going around that this is the last month. But I doubt it, man. I don't think the ANC is going to give it up that easily. Oh God, that Christmas stream. See, that's proof that I can't sing. You don't want me to sing. I'll have Ian on to sing if he's a good singer. Why not? I've had entertainers on before. But yeah. There we go. Look at her. Ronaldo show with Amy. Go check it out. There's a lot of information there as well. But since then, new information has developed, ladies and gentlemen, so that's why I'll be having Amy on in the future. So yeah. Yes, that ain't dropping. Xavier. You always bring good news. By the way, Xavier is going to be on in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, with the panel discussion in a few minutes. We're going to take a 5-minute break in just a moment as we get ready for the panelist discussion. So at 7 o'clock, panel discussion. What are we going to be talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about the riots. There's been a report about the riots that have come out. Who's really to blame for the riots? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to be talking about the EFF versus Afriforum, what the EFF did to Afriforum at the courts today, and we're going to be talking about black excellence. I've been told that's a very controversial topic in South Africa. I'm not sure why. My panelists are going to educate me, and we're going to have an open discussion. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I need to say this one more time. I want this show to be a space where people can talk about topics that may be taboo, that may be controversial, but since when did we get scared of talking about stuff? Really, like, when did we get scared of having open discussions, honest discussions about certain topics? I don't think anything is too controversial on this channel. Okay, wait. I know I'm going to live to regret that. I take that back. There are some topics. Like, yeah. Just off the top of my head. So, there are some topics that are really like you don't want to talk about. Even I'm like uncomfortable talking about them. But there's some topics as well that the wokies have hijacked the term and they've made it controversial. And it's not really controversial. Let's just have a chat about it, you know? And a lot more conversations like that are going to happen on this channel. And yeah, like I said, next week we are going to have another panelist discussion. I'm going to change the panelists every Tuesday. So next week already Ernst Van Sale is going to join. He's Conscious Clerical, for those of you who don't know. And Rob Hutchinson will also be on the show. And then I'm waiting for 2 others to confirm. We're going to be talking about the end to state of disaster. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me to quickly go to my panelists and welcome them on. While I do that, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this 5-minute break. Yes, I've made ads. We have a new show, ladies and gentlemen. This is like a new show that's happening. I've got like it's 2 hours now. It's insane. But yeah, here we go. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. While we're having a bit of a break and while we're here, I just thought I would let you guys know that you can become a member to this channel. When you become a member to this channel, there are 2 tiers. There's the Support Act and the Headliner Act. Each tier has its own perks. I'm not going to go into all the details right now, but just click on the join button, usually right next to the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, by the way, subscribe. If you want to become a member, it would be greatly appreciated. It really goes a long way to supporting the channel and helping me to continue to create content for you guys. And just in case you might be interested, for some of you who may not know, I am also a stand-up comedian and I have a one-man show coming up in June of this year. There is a link in the description with all the details that you need to know, when, where, and how much, so please go check it out in the description below. There's also another show that I'm doing with fellow comedians. You may have seen our Say What show on this channel or the Late Night Chat show on this channel. We're doing a live show, and that's kind of a pun there because we mean in person with a live audience show. Please go to the link in the description below where you can find all the details. It is called Say What Unbuffered. So once again, take a gander at the links below and all the information will be there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and as you can see, I am joined by some panelists. We have Xavier Bapu, who's at the top there. Let me just show his name quickly. Then we also have Sunflower. You're going by the name of Sunflower tonight. And then the Dodgy Idealist, and of course, who's been on the show before, and of course, another man who's been on the show before, Koketso Rasane, joining us as well. So yeah, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, hey, we are going to start something tonight. We're going to have an awesome discussion. Keep the comments coming in, keep the questions coming in. We will check them out. Just very quickly, I forgot to mention to my panelists, there is a up and down arrow somewhere on your side that you can toggle if you want to adjust the lag. So in other words, if you toggle it, there won't be any lag. If you are experiencing lag, so you just look for that up and down arrow, and it should solve that problem. All right, so boys and girls, I think the first topic we should probably talk about is something that happened earlier today. Get this one out of the way right away, which is basically what happened. Ernest Roots posting this earlier. Just let me know if you guys can see it on your side. You guys can see what's going on there. You guys can see it? All right. You won't be able to hear anything yet. So I'm going to adjust that just now. So for the viewers, I think you will be able to hear the sound. But as you can see there, Ernest putting out a tweet saying, this happened outside High Court in Johannesburg today. EFF supporters first tried to prevent us from leaving the premises. Then they started chanting, "Kill the Boer." Then they tried to steal my phone. And this is the video that Ernst posted earlier today. Let's have a look. It's only 49 seconds.
Sorry guys.
So there you saw some of the commotion out there. I mean, it's all right. I'll say it first. It's just absolutely insane what the EFF try and do from time to time. And we saw Ernst and Daniel Elof, I believe, exiting the court after their little court date with the EFF. Let's start with Koketso, man. What do you have to say about what you just saw?
I think it does well to highlight the character of the EFF, their supporters, their leadership, who haven't condoned this as of yet. But yeah, there is something to be said about the Red Berets, their conduct in general, and the kind of respect they have for other people, particularly those who don't agree with their ideology, their principles, and the things they want to happen at a parliamentary level, etc. So there is a conversation to be had there that this is exactly the type of behavior you find from the EFF, and this is definitely not the type of behavior you want out of people who would be presidential material or effectively a ruling government.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Xavier, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, I think it's not just today that he suffered this. I think he suffered it as well yesterday when they were in court. The EFF has been very... And the funny thing is they haven't actually sent any figureheads to court to, make an appearance outside or, show face before the cameras. They've kind of sent their ground forces, as they call it. And what this video proves, again, with every time we see the EFF on TV or we see them on the media, it proves that the EFF have successfully commodified violence and disruption in our country. They've actually made a business out of being disruptive, out of being violent, out of being threatening, and they're successful at it. And the reason they're successful is it's mainly because as we'll get into it later, but as the July unrest report notes, there has been a hollowing of our state infrastructure, including the security infrastructure. Anywhere else in the world, the EFF would be considered a terrorist organization. There's no doubt about it. But in South Africa, they are protected by the Constitution in various ways. And this is what this fight about kill the Boer is actually about. It's about their right to say kill the Boer is a matter of opinion. It's not a threat. It's not an act of racism. It's none of that. They're going to lose this case. I'm pretty sure if they don't, it's going to go to constitutional court. I have no doubts Afriforum will probably take it there if needs be. We're only at the high court level with this right now. But it doesn't stop at kill the Boer. It actually continues. You've seen the EFF say Indians. You've seen them say different races. You've seen them selectively choose foreigners, etc., on racial basis that they then start to incite violence. And this was shown again in the July riots from the EFF. It's been shown again when they attacked cliques. Shampoo. Shampoo was racist. Can you believe? Shampoo was racist. So, there's a lot we can say about the EFF, but I think the realization I've come to is they've made a business out of violence and disruption, and they're very good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I give my comments on some of the things you said, I want to get to Dodgy and Sunflower, but I'll start with Sunflower. Sunflower, very quickly, I think this is maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is one of your first public appearances on a YouTube, on a public platform. I could be wrong. But thank you so much for joining and being a guest on the show and giving a female voice to a much needed political sphere, if I can put it that way. So thank you very much for doing so. And I encourage everyone to go follow Sunflower on Twitter. Everyone's links on Twitter is provided in the description below. Please go check out. She is lit. She's absolutely lit on Twitter. I love it. And Sunflower, take it away. Your thoughts on the EFF and what they did today. Sunflower?
Okay, you can hear me, right? Well, thank you guys for having me on the panel. You're right in saying that this is my first public platform politically, if that's what we're discussing. But I have been, I have appeared publicly on the platforms before. I have done some local productions. Wrote.
Oh, looks like we lost connection there. Sorry, guys. She'll be back in just a moment. In the meantime, let's go to Dodgy. What do you think about what the EFF did today?
Well, I think like Kuketso and Joe also, not Joe, Xavier mentioned, sorry, Xavier, it's a hallmark of the EFF actually. And they have monetized this or started to profit from this sort of...
Sorry, guys. Just when I'm about to give my piece on the EFF, it seems like the gremlins kicked me out. And or perhaps the gremlin is the EFF, and they know I have nothing nice to say about them. So,
well, yeah, that as
what
well.
I would really like to know is that what does the EFF actually stand for? God forbid they actually become, or the leader becomes president of this country. If things do not go their way, is this how we're going to run the country? By beating up mannequins, by calling shampoo racist, by attacking retail stores because somebody abroad had something on a t-shirt that affected people in South Africa? When are we going to actually engage in intellectual dialogue and not in this divisive behavior where it's just violence all the time? I honestly have nothing nice to say about the EFF, but I think everybody who follows me knows this. The leader does not, he doesn't depict maturity at all. Okay, there's a lot that people say about President or former President Jacob Zuma. There's a lot that people say about the current president, Ramaphosa. But in those two individuals, I would still see some sort of maturity, for lack of a better word, for former President Zuma, intellect. I don't see that in Julius. This is the first time I've actually called him Julius, but if anybody follows me, they know that I don't refer to him as Julius. But because this is public, I'm going to just say I'll call him Julius for, just to give him some respect. Um, I just don't understand what the EFF actually stands for. And the following, we've all seen what sheep does. This is exactly what EFF's followers are. They are literally sheep. If one person says cancel culture and not knowing why, then you've got 20 others following in the same, following the same sort of thought process. People, they just don't engage. I'm sorry, I can't even say that they have 30% intellect anymore. The intellect they display is actually, or the IQ that they display is probably, that of my shoe size. So, quite frankly, when they stand outside court and say kill the Boer, I find that is hate speech, because if any one of us stood outside a courtroom and said kill a black or kill the K word, we would probably have the death penalty reinstated. We need to move forward as a country and stop putting everything on race, on color. Okay, we are humans, we are South Africans. We are not the EFF, we are not the ANC, we are not the Democratic Alliance, we are not Action SA. We are individuals. Okay, we represent ourselves, we do not represent a party. So if we want to be united in this country, we need to stop worshipping clowns like Julius Malema. Stop worshiping them, because quite frankly, Julius Malema is sitting in his mansion with his cocktail and his Breitling and his white bodyguards, and you're standing out there chanting for him, but he's giving you nothing. I mean, really, tell me what Julius Malema has actually given his followers. And please don't tell me he built a home, because he did build a home in Nkandla and it fell down. So then, to avoid the negative publicity, he went back and rebuilt that roof. So tell me what he's actually given his followers. I'd really love to know. Besides the violence and besides the chanting of kill the Boer, they can't even say Boer properly, it's boo her. So probably they want to kill boo her, whoever that is. Then go ahead and do it. That's my piece.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Okay. Dodgy, your thoughts quickly, and then I'll get into some of the details.
All right. So firstly, it's I get this lack of feeling whenever someone else expresses their devotion to individualism, especially when it's as fervent as Sunflower. So yeah, you're already a favorite. Now you've just notched up a bit more there. So yeah. Now I agree with what she says on us being individualists. I mean, we only represent ourselves. It's just coincidental that we come together as a society for for our own individual sake, right? But this is a tactic that's being used by what we can call, for lack of a better word, radical collectivists. This sort of disruption, this sort of need to be the center of attention in order to gain some form of relevance. But here's something interesting as well that I've noticed. Julius is growing, or rather, the EFF's following in the previous election from both 2019 and also last year, 2020, didn't grow very much, right? It remained about just over the 2 million. The other parties lost a lot of, let's say, voters, but that's because of low voter turnout and also disenfranchisement and so on and so forth. I think it's also because of what the DA had done, and also other smaller parties and independents also coming into play. But yeah, it seems like Julius's plan is not for the EFF to actually win presidency in South Africa. I think we're making a mistake if we think that. I think his plan for the EFF is self-enrichment. Let's be honest. I mean, if we look at their stores and the message that they give, it's two different things, right? If you're going to be the persons that communicate the plight of the poor, you're not going to sell a T-shirt for like 450 Rand. And let's be honest, you're going to try and go as cheap as possible, and you're going to have sort of outreach programs to those citizens. But that's not what we're seeing from the EFF. So it's purely self-enrichment. At least that's my opinion on this whole matter. Coming to the kill the Boer chant, you all know my position on hate speech. I say it does not exist, because any limitation on the right to the freedom of speech is basically an effective gag order against the individual. If we are not allowed to offend anyone, then, well, we're entering into a world of trouble. We're already seeing that. As far as the constitutional matter of this goes, I'd like to see the outcome of it, because it can go both ways, because we've already seen how the South African Human Rights Commission handled this sort of in the past, where they said that, it has to be taken into consideration the past of South Africa, the person uttering the supposed hate speech, and if they're black, then it might not be hate speech, but if they're white, it might also be 80% hate speech or something like that, not percentage-wise, but you get the gist of it. So yeah, that's my view of the matter, at least.
Yeah, no, I gotta admit, man, I don't agree with everything you just said. So I'm gonna push back a little bit. Hate speech does not exist. I don't. Look, I think. Yes, maybe you can have a bit of a defense by saying, hate speech is a term coined by humans and invented by humans and blah, blah, blah. And maybe that some people were offended by something that somebody said. But I think to some extent, hate speech does exist when it comes to really belittling a group of people, when it comes to, like Julius does with his Kill the Boer. And, some would argue that when that song is chanted, that farmers get killed not too long afterwards. There was rumors, and again rumors, that when I forget who Julius's sidekick is, what's his name again? No, the other one, the small one, that one. When he was at Cynical and he was singing a song about burning fields and stuff, that later on they were burning fields. And that to me would constitute as hate speech when you incite violence or create a narrative to incite violence. I don't know. Dodgy, would you agree with that? Or do you still believe hate speech doesn't exist?
No, because here's the next thing that leads into, right? It's called the incitement of violence, which I also don't really understand. How can you be held responsible through words for the actions of individuals who we assume have sovereignty or sovereign agency in their actions, right? Our whole justice system is predicated on this idea that we should hold an individual accountable for his or her own actions, not the actions of someone else, unless perhaps that is a minor. But minors do not have in our society full agency to exercise their will or their freedoms. So I think that is where we differ on this. But does it have an effect? I think so. I think so that it does. I think it can encourage it. I don't think we should say that there is no consequence of it. But I think we should also be very careful about where we draw the lines with regards to the limitations of our freedoms.
Yes, I understand that you're quite a liberal. The freedoms, I understand that, and it's something I also argue sometimes. Like people who want absolute freedom, I'm like, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as absolute freedom. Just like the communists will never get their utopia that they always want. But I'm keen to know, Xavier, Koketsa, and Sunflower, where do you stand on hate speech? I know we've kind of made a bit of a shift here, but I do wanna know from your guys' side, like, do you think hate speech exists? Sunflower, you can go first.
I just want to find out, if I stand outside a courtroom and if I say or chant with a group of Indian people, kill black people, would that be constituted as hate speech? Because I think the South African Human Rights Commission would be down my throat, and I'd probably have my house burnt, my car burnt, I work for myself, but then, yeah, they probably burn me. I think that would be hate speech.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with that. Okay, so I'll let Koketsu and Xavier go first. Then Dodgy, you can rebuttal to anything that anyone says. So Koketsu, you can go ahead. What are your thoughts on that, on this one? I think Koketsu is probably frozen. So I was wondering why he was so still for a moment. All right, he'll be back with us in a moment. We'll get his thoughts. Xavier, you go ahead.
Okay, so Dodgy, you know, we often have chats. Well, not as often as we should, but I get the point you're coming from, and that is the concept of free speech should be entirely free speech, as in there are no limits to what you can say. But it is, as I think Joe has put it quite well, it's a utopian dream. As much as I love free speech, there are some limitations, not because of what you are saying actually. The intellectual value of what you're saying could have, you know, its basis in logic or whatever your belief is. But you got to know that whatever you say is going to affect someone else. And, you know, you made a good point about our law actually recognizes that, you know, a person has autonomy over their actions and cannot easily be influenced. But that kind of falls away from the reality of the mark, where I'll come back to what Sunflower said, where she said people are sheeps. And we're seeing that. I mean, COVID has shown us how many policemen are in our families. I mean, there's people in your own family that will tell you, where is your mask? And everyone's like, what the hell? So, you know, the idea that you have autonomy over yourself is great ideologically. But reality, I mean, you read a magazine, you get influenced by Balenciaga, for example. I think that's a bad example. Let's say Mercedes-Benz. So you get influenced by Mercedes-Benz and suddenly you don't like your Toyota Corolla. And there's nothing wrong with your Corolla. You, the person that bought it, you were happy with that car before you saw an advert. So we are beings of influence. And I think freedom of speech it's something to be cautious about. There is freedom of speech in a perfect society where people are not trying to hurt each other. But it comes back to what Sunflower said. If you go outside the court and you turn this narrative around and you say, kill black people, that immediately is not going to cause outcry in South Africa. That's going to hurt everyone unless there's places you find that don't have a big black community. So for example, I think before COVID, I was under the impression that Japan doesn't have a big black community because you never see them. But it's actually a fallacy. China is the one that doesn't actually have a big black community. And when I say big black community, I mean 1.3 billion people in China are Asian descent. The black community doesn't even count for 0.1% of that. So there is a very big black community if you think about it in numbers, but not in percentage of the population. But even there, they would feel it. And we saw that with I think it was, what's this guy the drug guy that got killed in America? Then I can never remember his name. But Floyd, those protests caused stirs across the world in countries such as Denmark, which do not have a big black population, were screaming BLM. And these were white people. So I think freedom of speech is perfect in a perfect society where people are not hurting each other. But in a realistic society, freedom of speech does need certain limits to ensure that we're not hurting each other. And it sounds silly, but if you take 2-year-olds in a primary school or preschool, they hurt each other on purpose. And it's human nature to hurt someone else and actually find joy in it. It's kind of how we grow. It's kind of how we assert our authority. So, you know, I think the idea of freedom of speech and no hate speech, great ideologically, realistically, it fails.
Yeah. Well put, Xavier. Koketsu, I'm going to get to you in just a moment. There's something I want to add to what Xavier said as well. I think and this is something pointed out to me by John last night, you know, South Africa is quite a liberal. I know it's teetering towards communism a bit, but in terms of what we're allowed to say already, we can say a lot. You know, if you go to other parts of Africa, you know, there's a lot you can't say about the government. Like, you'll get locked up if you say anything negative about certain governments in Africa, let alone China and other places. So just wanted to point that out. Like, there is a freedom of speech. And it does come with limitations, I think, because if you're given a freedom, there has to be responsibility. That's just my opinion on that. Kaketsu, your thoughts on, do you think hate speech exists or not?
Yeah, I suppose this is where I'm not a libertarian, really. Yeah, I mean, see, the joys of going last is everything you want to say, someone else has already said it.
Sorry.
But yeah, look, I mean, yeah, I'm a free speech advocate, but at the same time, you know, I'll also make the case that it's the offender, as I've seen or heard me say, offend someone is the same right you have to be offended, but there is a line regardless. You know, you don't get to offend someone to the point where you are actually now threatening their very existence. And that blurred line, it never used to be blurred, but it is blurred nowadays, you know. So, yes, you can offend someone. Yes, you do have free speech, but we need to be very careful in how we offend people. That are we not perhaps swimming in deadly waters where we actually calling for some form of genocide, however big or small? So yeah, hate speech is a thing. It should be a thing even inside of the law. There should be laws in place to protect people from being effectively being threatened, having their very existence threatened through something like speech, because that's well past the line of offending someone. But at the same time, we can't now start defining everything as hate speech. In this case, what's happening with Afriforum versus the EFF, at the very least, yes, it is. Kill the Boer is a hate speech term for the same reasons that the rest of the panel has actually outlined, in that if you swap the words, you know, and that's a very basic test. If you just swap out kill the Boer and you swap out Boer for black people or Indian people, or, you know, even right down to Tswana people, or kill the Xhosas, for example, that is well within hate speech. And of course, the South African Human Rights Commission wouldn't even waste time. They'd have a 9 a.m. meeting about it the following day. But how come when we just say Boer in this instance, they don't have the same level of meeting? They don't take it that seriously. They even go further and outright say that no, they do not think it is hate speech. So in our political bloodlust, you know, to go after political opponents, there does need to be care given to make sure that you don't actually go ahead and threaten other people's existence. And unfortunately, that's exactly what the EFF has done. I wish they would have been taken to book by the SAHRC without having to go through the court system. But, you know, if it comes down to the court system, then so be it. They are going to lose this case. And I really do hope that Afriforum, actually wins with that cost order as well. I believe Afriforum versus EFF is already at like 3-0 or something. So yeah, let this be a 4-0, and let it be set a precedent for any and all others after the fact who needs to know that you can't just go around threatening people's existence. It's not okay.
Absolutely. Dodgy, before I let you rebuttal quickly, we're going to let Dodgy say his thing, then we'll move on to the next topic. I want to get into the next topic as soon as possible, because the last topic is going to be quite a intense one. So yeah, Dodgy, anything to say? Anything to add?
All right, so I'll maybe sound like a conceding point here. But freedom does not mean freedom from responsibility or consequences. And from what I can see, as morality is taught, not just given, right? So I'll say this, maybe our position on hate speech is informed on our moral position or posture on harm to individuals and groups of people. Is that fine if I say it like that? Is it fine if I say it like that?
I'm not trying to get you to change your mind, man.
But look, it's important that we have these sort of discussions, because from what I understand all of your points, and you make very valid points, and this does give me pause to think about my position. And I mean, that's the whole point of discussion, isn't it? So yeah, it's important that we make these discussions, but that has shown me perhaps a lack in my thinking in this position. Sorry, Xavier, I cut you off there.
So, Dodgy, you've kind of worded it quite well now. I like how you've defended your position. Let's go back to World War II, which was the greatest atrocity. I don't care what anyone says. World War II was genuinely the greatest atrocity the world has ever seen. And
COVID might take over, though. Just saying.
No, never, never. I mean, they dropped 2 bombs on Japan and wiped out like millions of people in
Fair
seconds. You don't beat that. So, when you go back to World War II, you look at how the war progressed. And then you look at the first Americans who actually came onto French beaches. And there were a lot of Jewish descendants of, the Jews kind of originated in Europe and the Middle East, and then they moved across to the United States slowly. It wasn't very big before World War II. And when they got to the beaches, these were young men. And war teaches you to hate your enemy to the point where they are no longer human. They no longer represent a human being. They do not deserve the same rights as a human being. And you can kind of call them what you want. And in a bid to dehumanize the Nazis, they didn't call them Nazis. The general term was Krauts, as in sauerkraut, which is a very popular cabbage pickle in Germany. And it doesn't smell good, but it tastes good. Anyway, so, you would fight the Krauts. That was in the trenches. Then you fast forward to the apartheid era. You've got a minority population of a country oppressing, and it was an oppressment of the majority population for many years. But, this goes back to the starting of South Africa. The majority population was always oppressed by the English kingdom, the United Kingdom. And again, when we gained our independence, the country might have gained its independence, but the majority population did not gain its independence. And you've got all this bad faith, that is now represented purely by the color of your skin, where a white man is boss and a black man is not boss. And in 1994, we did a whitewash, which was the TRC. And this helped mostly the politicians and a few notable victims so that it looked good on TV. But the general population never reached the same point. We didn't have truth and reconciliation as an entire country. And now you're coming back to the point where, does a person born after 1994 have the right to say, I hate white people? And historically, if you take cognizance of the historical facts of South Africa, if that person is taught those facts, it is likely that they might generate that hate. If you take anyone, I mean, I grew up in the 90s. So we went to school. We used to watch, what's that famous movie with Somizi in there? I forget. Koketso, do you know it? They used to play it on ETV.
Sarafina.
Serafina, that's the one. Yes. So, if you watch Serafina, no matter what color you are, and Joe, maybe you should do it if you haven't watched Serafina. Watch Serafina and see what you feel at the end of that movie. Do you feel happy, or do you feel quite angry at what has happened in the country? And this, Serafina is about events from 1976. It's not even relevant today. But it is. Once you watch that movie, it becomes relevant. So, hate speech does gain a bit of, let's say, authority when there is a massive abuse of human rights by one group. And I think that's why Kill the Boer is acceptable for some South Africans. Whereas for us, logically sane people who can, kind of independently think about things, we don't get to that point where we say Kill the Boer is acceptable. We're not going to get to that point. But for the person who is not so clued up on what has historically happened, they might not get to that point to say Kill the Boer is actually a bad thing. Farm murders are actually a bad thing. They're going to be like, yeah, do that. So I think that's my 2 cents on defending Dodgy on that.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you said, buddy. I think that's a nice way to also end. I think you mentioned like you put it in great context and you reference history, which I love. And that's the thing. I was actually telling John this last night as well. Like, it feels like we've forgotten a bit of our history. You know, we've forgotten what some of the really evil people did. And World War II is a great example. And yet it just feels in some ways history is repeating itself. But we'll leave it at that. I think in closing of this topic, EFF doing what they do best. They EFF. They try and cause, destruction wherever they are. And I think it was Xavier who said they're a terrorist organization, or they're like a terrorist organization, and I agree with that as well. Hopefully, as Koketsu pointed out, it will be 4-0 for Afriforum in the days to come. I believe Ernest did tweet out that it's a 7-day or something like that. It's over 7 days that they're going to have this trial. So hopefully, no more, or hopefully the violence doesn't escalate. But we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on the story as well. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to show the headline quickly. I'm not going to read the entire article. I just want to show it for the viewers. I showed it earlier in the show, but just in case you weren't part of the show, this is a expert panel report on the July violence, Zoom apocalypse. I really like that. SA's damage far deeper than the 100 billion wiped out by a single man's legacy. So basically, a report came out about the July riots, and the question was, who's really responsible here? And I mean, a lot of figures are in here, a lot of recap of what happened, and some things were aired about the police, and disappointing facts are now being released in this article. I did pass it on to my panelists so they can have a quick read through. Even if you didn't, I mean, if you just stayed close to this story, you would know what's going on. But basically, in a nutshell, everything is a mess. SAPS is a mess. Everyone's pointing at each other. The Minister of Security, the Minister of Defense, the Bekitele, they're all pointing at each other, blah, blah, blah. All this report, in my opinion, and I'll give you guys a chance to give your opinion, in my opinion, showed is that everything we're seeing right now is the fault of the ANC. This riot, they tried to pin it on Zuma. Whether you can pin it on Zuma, like a portion of it, but the entirety of it, the destruction, the billions lost, all the businesses destroyed in KZN, even the Phoenix incident afterwards. I mean, that was like a splinter of what happened during these riots. Everything goes back to the ANC and the failures of Cyril Ramaphosa and his government, the ANC. That's what I'm going to say in a nutshell. I'll let Dodgy go first on this one. Dodgy, what do you think about this report and the KZN riots?
Well, okay, so first, I didn't read too much about the report. I read the other article that we linked into the group. But to call it a single man's legacy is a bit, I think it's a bit of of jumping the shark moment here. Because let's also remember that it was a concerted effort of individuals in key positions to allow this to happen, right? They're just as guilty as Zuma or whoever wanted to capture the state in this regard. Furthermore, with what the riots basically showed us and what this report shows us is that there's an intrinsic network of almost tactical urban warfare sort of insurgents in South Africa when things do not turn out in favor of specific individuals, which is very dangerous. And I think this is an element that needs to be addressed. Is Cyril doing that? I don't know. I'm not seeing any movements on it, but I did hear whispers that the NPA has started to compile reports and stuff and will probably start prosecuting these. But this is up to the head of the NPA to actually pursue or not. After which maybe he or she would need to give their reasons to Parliament, hopefully. So yeah, we'll see. That's at least my thoughts on that.
Koketsa?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read the whole article, but maybe if I can just touch on the headline, the 100 billion rand loss. Yeah, it's very difficult to quantify, or let me rather say this, right? We'll never know the real loss, right? In that 100 billion rand is probably property and asset damage, etc. But the real loss is in the sales manager who was working really hard on a business deal of some sort to bring in more business for their company. That's lost revenue. That's a loss. The real loss is in the investment that may or may not have been on the way. The real loss is in the ability to go to potential investors and then say, hey, come invest in my country, my community, my infrastructure, etc. The real loss is there too. The real loss is in people who have lost their jobs and again having very limited prospects for a job in the first place. Losing your place of employment, not losing your employment, losing your place of employment is actually an even bigger thing because you're basically cut twice by the same knife. The real loss is in potential for people to actually upskill themselves and gain work experience because there isn't a workplace that was there before. The real loss is in the perception of the country where you have to almost work twice as hard now to convince even locals to not just invest in business in the area affected, etc., but for professionals who are working in there, who are maybe thinking of emigrating and decided, you know what, let me stay here. And now the July riots have kind of exacerbated the whole situation, and guys are making active decisions to leave the country along with their skills and, of course, their tax money. That's the real loss. And no matter how anyone, be it government or the media, tries to paint this or, comes back and says, right, a year later, these are the lessons learned, or the president coming in again with, by greeting the nation in 6, 7 different languages and giving a very warm speech about how something like this will never happen again. None of that is going to wipe out the real loss, and we can never measure that real loss. Unfortunately, for people's easy reading or to make it as palatable as possible to a wider audience, there has to be, someone has to take the fall. And in this case, it's very easy to say, to mention the Zuma word and just say it was a Zuma thing, etc. That's the easy way out. The real people to blame here is government for not having a police service that could effectively respond efficiently and effectively to the growing outbursts, like you mentioned, Joe. The real villain here also is our leaders who, instead of telling people to say, guys, do not break the law. You had guys actively saying that, right? They are condoning what was happening because, again, factionalism within the ANC. They didn't come out and actually condone this. They actually just came out and said, this is the fault of Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who did X, Y, and Z. So it's not about the destruction and the damage. They rather said, no, let's rather pin this on DCJ Zondo instead of saying that, guys, we've got a community here. We've got something here that is worth protecting. They didn't actually go ahead and do that. And that says a lot more about them than the people who are then in an about turn accused of something like racism for deciding to stand up for their family, their business, their community, etc. It is very disappointing to see as a South African that my countrymen are of this mindset. It's not a building mindset. It's one of saying vengeance and revenge for my friends being persecuted for what I believe is not the right thing or for what I believe is their innocence. That's the mentality of South Africans. So how do you effectively take that mentality and say, let's build a country and move forward? Objectively, it's impossible, but I still have hope.
I think we all should have hope to some extent, Koketsa. It's very important, but then again, some people will say hope is for losers. Yeah. Sunflower, and then Xavier. Xavier, I know you have a lot to say, which is why I'm leaving you for last on this one. But Sunflower, just very quickly, I can't remember. You got it cut off earlier, so I wasn't sure if you were with us. But basically, the quick question: do you live in KZN?
No.
Okay.
But I don't really want to reveal where exactly I live.
No.
Because after
Yeah.
our initial discussion, the EFF might just be trying to hunt me down. No, I don't live in KZN. I'm between provinces.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious because if you said yes, then I would have asked like what your experience was during the KZN riots. But
Oh no. Well, when the July unrest happened, I was actually in KZN at the time.
oh, well.
Yeah, I was in KZN at the time, and I clearly remember that when the trucks were being burnt on the N2, I think it was on a Friday and a Saturday, and I remember saying to my partner that there are reports of of a potential shutdown on the Monday. And he still said to me, no, this is, you're imagining things, none of this is going to actually happen. And I said to him, because, he lives well, we're in KZN for a period of time. We're in KZN for a period of time. And we were in Amshlanga at the time. And I said to him, look, if there is going to be anything, I actually want to be with my parents. I don't really want them to be alone. So on that Monday morning, when the riots broke out, I said to him, I'm actually going to risk it, and I'm going to get onto whatever that road is called, where you pass Nandi Drive. I'm geographically challenged when it comes to places, but I know that I got to pass Nandi Drive to get to my folks. And I remember getting onto that road. I even took a video, and I had never seen a road that quiet in my entire life. That road's busy. If anyone knows that road, it is busy. And when I finally got to, I think it was, there's a township on, I just can't get the name of the township. I actually stopped where the cops were, and I said to them, is it safe for me to take the off-ramp to my folks? And the cop just said to me, just get out of here, just go, don't even stop. And on either side of the roads, there were bricks, there were people walking with hockey sticks, pangas, stones, there were tires burning on the road, and I didn't tell my parents that I was actually coming, I was coming to them, because I didn't want them to get scared and be afraid and tell me not to. So, by God's grace, obviously I'm here. So that means I did get home safely. So that was freaky, because you got to take the KwaMashu off ramp, which is like, I think, and Phoenix is not very far from the KwaMashu off ramp. So that was my experience. I still have videos of it. I haven't read the report. What I want to know, though, is that we keep pinning this blame on the government, Cyril Ramaphosa. This entire unrest that happened, we eventually pinned the entire thing on Phoenix residents, right? But nobody actually said, well, what happened to the people that died in Johannesburg? How did they die? Phoenix residents didn't kill them. They died because of their own negligence. Whether you like to believe it or not, the truth is the truth. They died because of their negligence. The people that died in Phoenix, okay, let's park that for a second or so. What happened to the people who died in Pietermaritzburg? I think there was a story about 3 people that were that locked themselves up in a storeroom and they froze to death. Somewhere else, I think it was a macro in Pietermaritzburg, if I'm not mistaken. Some guys burnt themselves to death. That happened in the CBD as well. Phoenix residents were not involved. Now, I'm not going to sound biased here. There were people that were instigated in Phoenix to exacerbate the violence, okay? That could have been Indian people as well. I mean, I read a little story, whether this is a rumor or not, but I'm going to put it out there, that there's an Indian security company that has very close ties to former President Jacob Zuma, and they were paid to actually fuel the violence. So where you had innocent people trying to protect their homes, you also had people on the other side just fueling this violence. Now, how do you separate the two? It's impossible, because an Indian is an Indian. It doesn't really matter. You can say this gangster Indian attacked me, and then you can say this innocent Indian attacked me. Now, they were videos, and I have a lot of those videos. They were posted on my timeline as well. People in Chatsworth, I have a video, and I think some of you may have seen it, where a group of men actually, jumped the fence and tried to enter an Indian family's home. Now, what do? You welcome them on a red carpet and say, please come in for tea and samosa? No, you're going to protect your family. I would do that. That is self-defense. Now, if you come into my yard with a panga for absolutely no reason, honestly, what do you want me to do? What would you like me to do? That's exactly what happened to some of the people in Phoenix. I'm not saying all those Indians are innocent. I am saying that they were innocent Indians, and then they were those Indians that were probably fueled or paid for by whoever to whatever, to increase this violence. My point is that this entire unrest was pinned on Phoenix at the time. But who burnt the trucks on the N2? Who caused that who caused that route not to operate for like 2 or 3 days? How did 300 people did not die in Phoenix? I mean, come on, the morgue does not. I haven't been to Phoenix, but I doubt that Phoenix morgue stores 300 people. But then you had a lot of people saying that. My brother was there or my father was there or whatever. But what I have to also say is that there were some people that came out. I mean, I read reports of some people coming out and saying that my brother or son or husband was missing for 5 days and we found him out. We didn't know that he went missing. You didn't know he went missing until the July unrest happened. And then suddenly you realize, I have a brother. Let me look in the Phoenix morgue. He might be there. But he most likely wasn't there. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? There were people that were actually creating stories just to fuel racial tensions. We didn't need that. Where are the 12 instigators? Where are those people? Whatever happened to Jacob Zuma's daughter, Amandla? We see you. Nothing's happened to her. Why has nothing happened to her? Is it because she is the daughter of some powerful man, or the former president's daughter? So you've got innocent people sitting in jail in Phoenix, from Phoenix, but you have Jacob Zuma's daughter sitting in her mansion, sipping her 1,000 rand champagne and saying, Amandla, we see you. That is inciting violence, but nothing's happened to her. Because, I'm sorry, the politicians in this country are just too shit scared, excuse my language, but they are just too shit scared to do anything to these people. So who is the actual scapegoat here? It's the normal person that walks the streets. Nothing's going to happen to those Phoenix people, those guys sitting in jail. They're just going to sit in jail. They're not going to get their day in court. Nothing's going to happen to them. They're not going to get justice. Even if they are innocent, they are just going to rot in jail, whilst we have people like Jacob Zuma's daughters and sons. And I mean, the brilliant, and I'm using that word very sarcastically. What's his name? The son? Duduzane Zuma. Yes. We have him saying, please, loot responsibly, or whatever it was. And that is the kind of person the rest of South Africa, or some of them, actually see as president of this country. I mean, come on, you got to wake up. You can't really have that person as president of this country when he says, oh, please loot responsibly. Like, really? How do I walk into a shop and say, excuse me, I just came here to loot your cabbage? Yeah, and people were not hungry. I'm sorry, people were not hungry. We saw people stealing LG TVs and appliances, and I mean a couch that was worth like 72,000 rands that couldn't even fit in their little apartments. So
people were stealing linen,
hungry. They were instigated by someone, and that mastermind has not been arrested yet. Until that mastermind is arrested, you are going to continue having Parliament burning, Carnival City burning, and God knows what next. So the leader at the top, which is, and it's a humble request to President Cyril, to Cyril Ramaphosa, do something, because the time to talk is over. I mean, he has spoken for 4 or 5 years? The time to talk is over. Literally, and I'm sorry to say this to the president, but you really need to grow some balls and start taking action. Because if you don't do that, this country is falling apart. It is falling apart, and there are politicians out there that are actually using people, using race to fuel tensions. We can't do that. We can't let that happen. We are South Africans. We pay our taxes. We contribute to this economy. We want every single person to thrive, because if you thrive, it makes it lesser for taxpayers. The burden is lesser on taxpayers. I mean, I heard that they might increase the tax at some point in time. Now we went from 14% to 15%, then to 16%. You need to do something, and you need to start acting now. If you're only going to act in 2 years' time or in 2024, that's not going to help, because that might actually cost you your presidency. So if you, I mean, I just don't know what it is about politicians. Maybe they just have knives behind each other's back. And, if you do something to this one, then you might be taken out. We've seen what happened to the political killings in KZN. And perhaps people are just scared. They are scared. But if you are scared, I mean, what the hell do you think happens to the layman on the street? We are just as scared. We are bloody scared. If a politician is scared, you're walking around, you're roaming around with your blue light brigade, with your 20,000 bodyguards. But here we are trying to tell you, fix the bloody country and protect us as citizens. Oh, we're so concerned about protecting the councillors in KZN and making sure that there aren't any political killings. That's your problem. But what are you doing to protect South Africans? This unrest should never have happened. It happened. They used Jacob Zuma, whether it happened because of him, but they used him as a scapegoat. They're now using the Phoenix residents as the scapegoat. But the bigger thing is that intelligence received a report weeks before, and they literally just sat on it. They sat on it like they were sitting on their toilet paper. I mean, come on, guys. We actually have an intelligence in this country that's not doing anything. Then you are not intelligent. Scrap your department and stop spending the billions. Lastly, I just want to say, they've amounted this report or the damages to say 100 billion. And, pardon my distrust with these people, but I'm not quite sure if it is 100 billion. They could say it's 100 billion. It might actually be a little bit lesser. But I mean, given the past experiences, we had Patricia de Lille building a chicken fence, which probably cost 10,000 rands, but she said it was 33 million. So they're always increasing or inflating the figures because somebody needs to put their hand in that lottery pot and take out what they need. So today we said it's 100 billion, but it could actually just be 50 million. I don't know. The greater loss in this entire thing is not the infrastructure, it is the lives that were lost. So to the people out there that go out and burn infrastructure and destroy, you are actually destroying your own livelihood. Stop it. Stop burning. Stop destroying infrastructure, because it's costing you. You're not able to work. You're unemployed. It's going to increase unemployment in this country. So guys, we need to get together and engage in dialogue. It's so easy to pick up, a match and some paraffin and burn something and show your frustration, but that doesn't work. It really doesn't work. Engage in dialogue. I mean, there can be peaceful protests. Let's all get together. Imagine if 40 million South Africans got together and stood outside of Parliament and said, we're not doing this anymore. We don't care about worshipping politicians or leaders. We want you to look after us, not to look after yourself. And that's my piece.
Round of applause. Damn. That was amazing. I mean, Xavier, that's a hard act to follow.
You can never, you can follow Sunflower. You can never rise above. So yeah, I'm going to try. Guys, I've got two ways I can do this thing. I want to do both if possible. I've actually read the report from government on the presidency site as well as articles, and I think there are 46 articles in the last day or so. So I can choose to do the report quickly, which I'm going to just do. I'm going to do an entire review on my profile as if I'm doing a book review. So that will come later this week, but I can just run over the facts quickly. A few of you guys have mentioned some things that seem like fact, but are not fact in the report. And then I can do my lived experience of the events of July 2021. I was there. I wasn't in KZN, but I was there. I was here in South Africa. I experienced it firsthand. So, which way do you guys think I should go first? Should I put a report or the experience?
Oh man, I don't know. What are you more comfortable with?
Let me start with the report. That's the easy part.
Okay.
Okay. So you've noticed the article you sent us, as well as a few other articles. And let's be honest, guys, no South African is going to go read that 146-page report. That's the honest truth. And the media is counting on the fact that you do not read that report. I want to challenge every listener, every person that's watching, every one of the panelists to go read that report. Because the first fallacy is the Daily Maverick reports 100 billion in losses. The report only mentions 50 billion. Nowhere is 100 billion mentioned.
So Sunflower was close. She said 50 million.
She is damn close. So, you know, the report...
Told you cannot trust them.
You are being swindled by the media in a big way. I've read 46 articles. I speed read the report, which is about 146 pages. The last 20 pages are not so important. The first 20 pages, not important. But the in-between is vital to every South African to understand the real state of the nation and who are the real actual criminals behind the July unrest, because it becomes very apparent and you don't need to be part of the security agencies. Okay, so let us start by who compiled the report. So the report was commissioned by Cyril Ramaphosa on the 5th of August. The expert panel had no powers. In other words, that panel and all the information in it was done via cooperation. If nobody cooperated, that information is not included. So these were ministers that submitted their reports, submitted what they had done, did debriefings. These guys, the panelists, actually went ahead and met with all these people. They went to the shopping centers, met with the owners, met with owners of the factories, etc. It's a long list they went through, and that is why from August till now, they hadn't released the report. It took a long while to compile. So you got to understand, this report, the people behind it had no power to actually go to the police station and say, I want this information. The police commanders in Phoenix had to cooperate or not cooperate. It was up to them. So it's not like this panel had any powers to say, we are getting every bit of information and it will be 100% factual. So you got to understand, when you read this report, it's based on whoever cooperated, which was mostly government. And they state that from the onset that it is mostly the ministers and the ministerial departments that cooperated with them to give them the information. So obviously, you know, if the Minister of Police tells the Phoenix police commander, I need the information from Phoenix, that guy's not going to, you know, disobey the minister. Or maybe he might in our country. But anyway, you got to understand, and as you read the report, this becomes apparent. Sunflower said it right. The intelligence agencies apparently had this, and the media is reporting it as such, that they had the intelligence for weeks before the unrest actually occurred. Now, we have something called the SSA, which is the State Security Agency. It's a very powerful agency. It's existed before the apartheid era. Very talented people there. I know some of the people. They actually, from the day Zondo said that Zuma must actually go to prison, they were monitoring chatter on every angle and, you know, basically keeping an eye on the situation because they submitted. Now, you guys know that from the 26th of March 2020, the NCCC was in control of our country. There is no democracy under the NCCC. There is no normal powers under the NCCC, which is the National Corona Convenience, whatever, what they, the dodgy motherfuckers. Anyway, what happened was we had a organization called NICOC, and we have another organization called SSA and another organization called the NSA. All of these organizations overlap to provide security intelligence for the government. Now, the NCC or NCCC, whatever they call themselves, they pretty much eliminated all of this. So the NSA, which is like the massive security intelligence agency in South Africa, similar to the Homeland Security in the US, to make it simple, they haven't set regularly since COVID broke out in 2020. They haven't set regularly. So all of their reports go to the NCCC. The NCCC elected not to take action on this. That is the shocking part of the report, and it's disclosed in the report that the NCCC did not take action, and nor could the NSA, because now the NCCC is in control. The NSA has no power over them. So the whole hierarchy of Cyril Ramaphosa is the man in charge is not true. The NCCC is in charge. Then you look at, private security, which was vital. Let me go back to the police. So in the report, it states that the police from the onset had the perception that, like we've become accustomed in the last 27 years of freedom in South Africa, the unrest will take, a few burnt tires on a road, few road closures, nothing serious, couple of hundred people, nothing serious. Now, the term they've coined is called organized spontaneity, right? Which states that it's a new term they've coined in this report, which states that, originally there was a small amount of protesters who were organized and incited, and this then just created an explosion of protesters that were very similar and did the same thing in different provinces. For example, the first truck fires happened on the 8th, and by Monday, behind me is Alexandra. That sky was orange for about 4 nights during the unrest. And that was the fires burning in Alex. I went there when Becky Sele was there and the military was there, and I just walked around kind of with them, pretending to be a journalist. So, and the gunshots that were happening, I could hear them from here. So, this idea that they had that, things just sporadically happened, and it's a new term they've coined, shows that the police were completely overwhelmed. And this shows by the fact that they ran out of rubber bullets. They then relied on private security as well as citizens to supply them with rubber bullets so that they could deter them. The perception of what was to come from the police and what actually happened was dramatically different. And the police were overwhelmed from the first day, which was Monday, really, of the unrest, and they never gained traction. And that is why SANDF had to be brought in. Now, the reason SANDF could not be brought in was because there are constitutional restrictions that stop the president from just calling SANDF and saying, you guys need to go there. The president cannot do that. Now, I myself, living through this whole thing, was very angry at the fact that on Monday, the army were not on site. They only arrived the following Monday. And I was extremely angry about this. When I read the report, I begin to understand the restrictions in our constitution as well as our government that prevented anyone from doing this. It prevented certain things. The most interesting part was that the law does not allow private security companies to protect public property. Can you believe that?
Wow.
A private security agency cannot protect, even if there is serious harm coming to them. They cannot protect anyone that is not their client. That's the legal implications. So even if, and this is why a lot of security companies, like Sunflower I mentioned, have been implicated in criminal cases. And it's purely a legal matter, which they did break the law by protecting and blocking off streets, which is public property. The government didn't order them to do that. And this is an interesting thing. And this is all in the report, but the media is singing and dancing to the tune they want us to hear. They know we're not going to read this report. So they know we're not going to see this. And in none of the articles, there are 46 I read in about an hour and speed read them. And none of them mention any of this. Not one. So that is the media. We have a political struggle with real politics, and then we have a political newsroom which is singing their own stories to influence our politics. And this is very dangerous, guys. So it's important you try to get your information directly from the government, even though they are liars. They are still lesser liars than the media. Then, in terms of where was I? Yes, the report does mention racism in Phoenix, and it mentions specifically that not 300 people, but 36 were murdered in Phoenix. It says specifically that these people were of African origin, and that the people that murdered them were of Indian origin. And this is all very disturbing because if you were speaking to a lot of the people in Phoenix, yes, a lot of civilians were protecting their homes. But Phoenix is also home to, much like the Cape Flat, a group of organized gangsters. Now, gangsters are not people who obey. They are not decent people who say, you know what, we're just going to protect our territory. They're going to be like, those murderers, we'll kill them. Because that's what they do. We know with Teddy, they said, we're going to kill those two O's that killed Teddy. And they killed them in the street, broad daylight, and nobody stopped them. So these are the kind of people that were involved. And then you got security companies who said to say a very small, I'm talking 0.001% of security companies in South Africa are part of organized crime. That is the reality. It's the legal way to own as many guns as you can and have a license to carry them and use that company to bully your opponents. So a few organized criminals do open security companies, which they use to protect nightclubs, they use to protect shebeens, they use to protect their businesses, and the police cannot touch them because it's a legal company. So yes, a few of those companies engaged in, let's say, less than legal actions to protect and go further than just to protect their environment. They went ahead and started their own aggression towards townships, etc. And Pietermaritzburg was one of them. I think they set alight to an entire township, which thankfully only, I think, a quarter burnt. So you've got all of these factors that are mentioned in the report, as well as what they think is the cause. So I'm just going to go through what they say are the contextual issues that you must take notice of when reading the report as to how. So basically, they're saying these are the powder kegs that set off when a small fire was lit, which was Zuma's incarceration. And they're saying it was a multi-crisis of the following: a hollowing of state institutions, poverty and inequality, unemployment, high rates, spatial planning, and specific reference they made to the townships and their proximity to city centers, which was not allowed. You must know that most townships were actually established on the basis of land invasion. And that is why the government is trying to get rid of that, because they invade the land, then they demand services. And that is the way it's been going for the last 20 some odd years, when they've realized the government caves in and then announces that they are acknowledging that township, even though it's right next to Sandton or right next to Fourways or wherever it is. And then they go on to say rampant corruption. Can you believe a report from government mentions rampant corruption? I was so shocked. They then said frustrations of COVID, which was shocking for me as well, because no one actually blames COVID. You know, people were locked down. And at the onset of lockdown, I said they will never lock down the townships. I didn't believe they could. Then SANDF was on the streets, kicking the crap out of people because you're not wearing a mask, which I didn't think was possible in my lifetime. So I think a lot of people in KZN were frustrated about what had happened. The report goes on to say that, Phoenix was mostly blamed, but was not the main cause of the deaths. The deaths were 343 in total, the majority of which, and the report says this, was due to the negligence of looters in their environments. So, for example, 17 people were crushed by beer pricks because they tried to loot alcohol. And this was nowhere near Phoenix. The deaths counted, and this is the most shocking part, the deaths counted also include the victims of looting. So, for example, a pastor in Phoenix was trying to protect his community with a few other civilians. There was a drive-by shooting which took his life, and his death is counted in the 340-some odd deaths. So it makes it seem as if all these people died in the so-called Phoenix massacre. There was no massacre. There was no mass amount of Indians that went out to a township and started hacking people to death. That is what generally is a massacre. These were individual deaths that occurred by people being vigilantes, and mostly gangsters being vigilantes, who were using illegal weapons to kill people. So, the report kind of mentions a lot of this. And it squarely places the blame on a few people, mostly government. And it says that the ministers all received, so the Minister of Defense received the report from the NSA. And I think there was a serious misunderstanding between the Minister of Police and the Minister of Defense as to what the report entailed. So the report mentions that there was no communication between the various ministers to secure the country before anything happened, even though they had knowledge of it. So it squarely places the blame on the executive of our country, not the individual
Can I make a comment there?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that the Minister of Defense, who was Mapisa Ngakula at the time, right? The reports are out, basically almost singles her out, right? And her reward from the president for this grotesque failure is to simply move her from the Ministry of Defense, where she has failed and cost the country billions. The reward is to move her from defense to tourism now. Is that it?
Well,
do I have that right?
No, I think Lindiwe is tourism. I think she's something else, and the Speaker of Parliament, apparently. Yeah. So.
Oh yes. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. We've been talking about
They've been recycled just to destroy another department.
So her reward is to go from the Ministry of Defense to Speaker of Parliament.
Precisely. So this report has only come out recently. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Cyril Ramaphosa, and the report goes on in its conclusion with suggestions for the president, which he'll never take, because the price is too high. And I spoke about this to someone I met over coffee who was interested. And I told him that in my experience of the ANC, each figurehead, to get where they are, they had their own network of people, which includes patronage, it includes organized crime that supported them. We know Dlamini Zuma probably has connections to illicit cigarette sales, and that is why she banned cigarettes. So each one, and this is why the ANC is fractionalized so much. There is no longer a unity because each one has their own house now. So you think of the ANC more like Game of Thrones, which I've never watched, but I know because I followed the memes. Think of ANC as more of Game of Thrones. Each of them really hate each other. There is no camaraderie, and that idea of the old ANC we know is disappearing, and you see it because of the resignations of Tito Mboweni. You see it when Tokyo Sexwale left ANC. You see it when certain people are just not interested in a executive position anymore, even though they could be good. So you now faced, especially Cyril Ramaphosa, with the same figureheads you've had for the last 20 years, who are probably corrupt. So Fikile is one of them. That man is doing strange and wonderful things behind the scenes, but you have no option but to make him a minister. Because if you don't, you will not succeed at the NEC, and you will not be president. And you're South Africa's last hope. Pretty much everyone else thinks you're South Africa's last hope, and that is how Cyril Ramaphosa became president. If you look at the figureheads that have been in from 2009 till date, much of the cabinet is the same, guys. Much of the cabinet is the same. And you cannot say I'm fighting corruption when you still have the same people in there. It's crazy. But this report was, when I read it with a closed mind, thinking this is just going to be government propaganda. And it was like a smoking gun by the end of the time I read it. And I was like, geez, the media really writes a bad story. Because if I was a journalist, I'd be ashamed at the articles that are being written now. It tells no story, actually. It's telling their own story of a report they never read. So, yeah. Sunflower, you wanted to say something.
Yes, sorry. Just to say, the media will actually make you believe that pigs fly. So, and there are stupid people out there that might actually believe what the media says. I just want to quickly just touch base on one thing about the Phoenix issue. When this entire unrest happened, there were a lot of a lot of messages on social media saying that you Indians are killing us blacks. And I just want to say to those people who did not or do not live in Phoenix or in KZN, that the Black and Indian community have been living alongside each other for decades. They didn't need an unrest to walk out onto the street and start killing innocent people. They could have done it without the unrest. So that narrative that you were fed as sheep is total BS. Nobody just goes out onto a street and kills black people for the sake of it. People were protecting themselves, and like you've mentioned, Xavier, Indian people also died. There were people that were protecting themselves, and yes, they are Indian security companies. I'm Indian, and I'll say it. They are Indian security companies that that engage in criminal activity. I don't know who they are. I don't wish to know who they are, but it is a reality. The point is, um, we as the Indian community did not need to wait for a July unrest to kill innocent black people. Seriously, guys, we do not hate black people. We do not hate white people. We do not hate colored people. We do not hate people. Simple. Again, I'm saying it that politicians are actually using racial divisions to fuel tensions. That's what they're doing, and you are buying into it. You are actually, they're using you. They're using you to hate each other, and you can stop it. So yeah, I think I just needed to put it out there that the Indian and Black community have lived alongside each other in KZN for decades, and they still live alongside each other. There was a video that was put out where during the July unrest, it's somewhere on my timeline, where the Black community were also saying, we are not standing with the Indian community and saying, we're not going to let people come into our community and attack us. So how is that possible? I mean, come on, guys, you all have your own brains. Surely you can think for yourself. You really do not need a politician to poison your mind.
No, it's quite true, Sunflower, because and it again comes back to the media, which I think I always hated the media. I hate it especially now after reading this report, and I think the media generated that narrative of Phoenix Indians being racist. Let's get to the facts. During the apartheid era, there was the Land Areas Act. Phoenix and Chatsworth are products of the Land Areas Act. Indians, as well as blacks, were removed from wherever they were staying and packed into Phoenix. They were packed into Chatsworth. They were packed into Malagasy. They were packed into these specific areas, specifically under the apartheid era. And we worked together as Indians, blacks, coloreds. In fact, the Freedom Charter that the ANC holds dear, but never actually follows and never actually fulfills the promises on, that was written by whites and black. The man that actually typed it out was a white man. And this is the golden document of the ANC. So the fallacy that, Indians were above during the apartheid, that is a big lie. The ANC was built up of an Indian party as well as other parties that merged to make the ANC stronger before apartheid fell. And even today, in the national government, you'll see a lot of figurehead Indians inside the ANC party who still support the ANC party. I think after the July unrest, a lot of people did not vote for ANC, where they previously would have voted for ANC. I mean, my parents are both ANC supporters. I think when I decided to be a DA member, I was nearly crucified by both my in-laws and my own family. It was like a ridiculous. You want to be a racist, So it was terrible for me because when I told them I'm going to run for councillor and what, they were like, "You mad? You'll never win a seat. You're going to be completely failed." I was like, Jesus Christ. Okay, so I think the role of Indians in South Africa's independence and freedom after 1994 is largely overlooked, especially by the media. It's a great fallacy of our times, and if you look at the media and how they capitalized on the Phoenix racism issue, you'll see how much money they made just in sales of advertisements for every click on an article, because people ate this up. I mean, people in Mpumalanga, which were not even involved in any sort of unrest, were eating this up. Yeah, Indians. Yeah, Indians. It's about time. No, what is it about time? You've been buying from Indian businesses for years. You've been working in Indian business for years.
Yeah.
What is it about?
Yeah, it's I think what both Xavier and Sunflower said tonight about this whole unrest is on point. And Xavier, thank you for reading so much and enlightening us with the truth of what happened. I'm definitely going to try and read 140 pages of a novel, dude. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to try. I'm definitely going to try every day, read a few pages and stuff. But I do encourage everybody else to go read it. Oh, okay. I'll read your review then. Like I said, everybody, the links to everyone's Twitter is in the description, and MenPatria as well. Sorry, guys, we're almost out of time, but do you still want to chat about that last topic, or do you want to leave it for another time? Do you guys have a bit extra time? Sorry?
Black excellence is very important.
Yeah, I'd like to continue if they don't have any other commitments to keep to, because I think we do need to get to that as well.
Yeah. Sunflower and Koketsu, you guys still good?
Yeah, I'm good. If we're talking about black excellence, I just want to say that
well, in a moment. Koketsu?
Okay, I got a bit of time.
All right, cool. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let me just also put a bit of a disclaimer out there. Because there are going to be some wokies that are probably watching this right now. And you know what? I want to create a space where we can talk about some interesting topics. Some of them might be controversial. I think that black excellence is a term that is hijacked from the wokes. I actually don't know a lot about it, to be honest. So I am going to be a bit educated now by my panelists. And guys, this is a space where you can talk honestly and openly. Don't be afraid of anything. Let's get to the bottom of this. As far as I understand, and let me put it this way, as far as I understand, black excellence, it's a term. Some people agree with it, some people like it, some people don't. Some people think it's racist or it's belittling black people. So let's discuss this. Is it a bad term? Is it not a bad term? And I really would like Koketsu to start this one off, because I think he would, not because he's black, that's not the reason. But I really do think this is something that MenPatria, the MenPatria team, they talk about these kinds of things all the time. So, yeah. So, Koketsu, you start us off. And I think a good place to start is, what is black excellence?
Okay, so black excellence as a term is usually used to describe outstanding or irregularly outstanding achievements made by people who are seen as sufficiently black. I say sufficiently black because, remember, colored people they're given their own class, which is separate from black, at least in this country. That is, people of mixed race origin. That's the one-line definition. I don't like it, and here's why. So, the bigotry of low expectations, right, which is a fascinating concept that, everyone can look into in their own time. But essentially what that means is the low expectations set for black people, not just here, but throughout the world, is that black people are only capable of so much. And so, whenever a black person goes beyond that expectation, it is an excellent achievement. It is an example of black excellence. Some examples. In this bigotry of low expectations is a default rule that is applied that says that if you are black, you are automatically unwealthy. I don't want to say poor. You are automatically unwealthy. The default setting for black people is that you speak non-African languages with a very distinct accent, with very specific enunciation, and that you cannot excel in a language that is of European origin. That's part of the bigotry of expectations. So the reason I don't agree with it is for the same reason I'm sure you can imagine, that why would you place such a limit on a person based on the color of their skin? You know, it stems from deep roots of racism, whereas you have people who have traditionally maybe looked at black people and said that they are good for only the following. And therefore, an education system must be designed specifically for them to help them succeed at tasks that are very limited. AKA, a black person at best can be a police officer, teacher, nurse, otherwise gardener, cleaner, cook, and perhaps maybe a security officer of some sort. Failing that, then they will be very proficient in sports and arts. You know, they must dance, they must kick a ball, or they must be security guards, teachers, or at the very worst, go be a pastor. So that's part of the bigotry. And when you perpetuate the idea of black excellence, what you're actually saying is, I adopt the idea that black people are only good at so much, can only achieve so much, the vast majority of them. And therefore, we should celebrate whenever a black person goes over and beyond that, which at the same time is arguably the same kind of achievements that are then attributed to non-black people. So if there is a company CEO, the expectation, if you are bigoted, is that the CEO is always a white male. Therefore, should there be the event where the CEO is a black male, then that's black excellence. Why? Because black males, or black females even, are uniquely unable to, of their own accord, become a chief executive officer of a successful company, etc. It's very bigoted, and it ascribes to people a ceiling that they don't probably have even for themselves. And the people who go around pandering things like black excellence, they carry with them an inferiority complex. That is, black people that subscribe to this. They carry with them an inferiority complex that a lot of them don't realize they have. An example of where this is exercised: when a black person typically then talks to another black person from, let's say, another sub-Saharan African country, you know, where you even change your accent, you speak to people a certain way, you start speaking slower so that they can understand you, because you've actually set a bias that they don't speak English very well, not at least compared to you. That's bigotry. Right. This inferiority complex also says, goes into something as simple as school. You know, you don't expect the black child to do well academically. And so when they do, it's black excellence. But when they don't do academically well, it's the expectation. There's nothing to see here. This is the standard. This is regular. Black people do not excel academically, and by extension, they then don't excel in career paths that typically require a high level of academic achievement. You know, some of your professions, doctors, engineers, etc. That's where this whole thing comes from, and that's exactly why I don't agree with it, because I wouldn't dare meet someone right now and automatically think that, right, they are only capable of so much, of doing so much, or achieving so much, of only speaking a certain way, of affording a certain kind of clothes, of carrying a certain kind of phone, of driving a certain kind of car. I don't do that to people. I actively don't do that to people. But there are people who do that. And the people mostly who do this are black people in and amongst themselves, not just within the South African context, but even black people outside of South Africa, from other parts of Africa. Heck, black people in South Africa that carry this bigotry will even place on a pedestal black Americans. That's why you see that when hip hop artists start getting a little bit popular, they then change their style to whatever the trend is in the US. It's not because it's better music, it's because they assume that it is superior. Why? Because it comes from superior black people. But I could go on and on about this, but that's effect what it means. And now you know why I don't agree with it and probably never will. Well, not probably. I never will.
Yeah. Okay. So before I get to Sunflower, would this be black excellence? Would this be an example of the bigotry of black excellence when someone says, "Oh, this black man speaks English so well"? Is that an example, or is that different? I think we lost Koketso there. Wait.
I'm still here. So
okay.
Was that question to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a perfect example. In fact, I get this a lot in a lot of places I go to. Once I start speaking, then it is assumed that, yeah, I am this privileged private school kid. Meanwhile, I went to a public school. English isn't even a home language for me. I speak fluent Setswana, for example. People automatically don't believe that I can speak another language besides English, because in their bigotry, if you speak English at the very least as well as I do, then clearly it's the only language you know, and that isn't the case.
Yeah, I've never really liked it when people have said like, "Oh, this guy speaks English so well." Even like any other race, like Egyptians, for example, or Afrikaners or whatever. The Afrikaners have a very thick accent that get the tenses mixed up. I've never enjoyed saying like, "Oh wow, this Afrikaner speaks English so well," because like I don't know, like to me it's always felt wrong to say that. And sometimes if I do say it, it's I mean it as a compliment, not really as I didn't mean to offend, but now you've given me something to think about, because I never really looked at it from that angle. But I do understand the concept of, specifically black people, where people are like, "Oh wow, this black person made it. That's amazing," almost implying like no other black person can, and it's such an achievement when any other black person could do it. We all have that drive to work hard and provide and all that stuff. One black person is not necessarily better than the other. Everybody is talented in one way or another. But yeah, I see Xavier wants to say something, but please, Sunflower, I know, is eager to say something as well. So, Koketso, thank you for the introduction. We'll get back to you. Sunflower, go ahead.
Okay, so I was thinking about this whole black excellence thing ever since Pearl, some celebrity, went on a date with some Mr. Smig influencer, and apparently all of the stuff, the clothing, the gifts, the restaurants, the car was all black excellence. And I was like, how is this black excellence? So I wrote a little something, and I just want to say, let me just, I can't remember all of it. I'm just going to read it out. But I actually think, like, is this black excellence? It's something so insatiable. It's almost like you have to climb a mountain each time. But honestly, climbing this mountain is you can't keep you can't keep climbing mountains. You're never going to get there all the time. You're going to get exhausted at some point. But like Koketso said, black excellence, people deem this black excellence, like this whole Pearl and Mr. Smig thing, black excellence. But what about the people like your working class, your single working class moms? I'm talking specifically the black community, obviously, because we're talking black excellence here. Are they not excellent enough? So are you only excellent if you are wearing your Breitling and your Gucci and your Armani and you're driving in some SLK somewhere? Is that black excellence? So is black excellence not the gardener? And I'm saying that, you know, your gardener or your car guard or your waitress. Is there no excellence in them because they just don't have that stature that a person in an SLK or a Breitling has? I mean, why does excellence also have to, why does the color of our skin also determine excellence? Are we just not people? Again, I'll go back to say we are individuals, we represent ourselves. Are we not excellent in what we achieve and not what the society or community sees what we achieve? Why does it always have to be the first black president or the first black guy that developed sneakers out of, I don't know, plastic water bottles or something? Why is that excellence? For me, quite frankly, I don't give two shits about, you know, Pearl and Mr. Smith going on a date and sitting in Oskido's restaurant and having a dinner. That is just a bloody hype. And again, the sheep are following that hype. Black excellence is actually that single mother, that black single mother that is working to put her three kids through school. Black excellence is actually our helper who comes, works for us, does whatever, and with whatever little money they earn, they go and put their kids through school, support themselves, pay their rent. That is black excellence, guys. But then again, you know, it shouldn't actually be termed black excellence. What I'm saying is that you can't say that somebody in a black guy in a suit is black excellence and the gardener is not black excellence. Let's stop defining people. We are individuals. Let's respect each other, whether you're the CEO, you know, driving your SLK, or whether you're the guy cutting my grass. There shouldn't be a term called black excellence. Black excellence is actually a term derived from the Americans. And it's so funny that we as South Africans tend to adopt what we actually don't like. We don't like the Americans, they're deemed white, but we adopt what they, you know, whatever phrases they come up with. And I actually wanted to say, if we talk about black excellence, if it has to be there, the EFF is not an epitome of black excellence at all.
Well said. Well said. I mean, again, Sunflower. I agree with every word. I think again, well put. Xavier, go ahead, and then we'll go to Dodgy.
Let's go to Dodgy first. I've got a lot to say on this, and I'm arguing for. No, I'm probably the only panelist here arguing for black excellence. So I want to let everyone
Okay, interesting. Okay, interesting. Okay, now it's gonna get heated. I see Koketsu's salivating. Dodgy, go ahead.
I'm going to deflate Xavier there a bit, but look, I understand both sides of the argument. So it's not just, and to add to Koketsu and to deliver on his critique as well, it's not just a celebration of an individual black person's success, right? It's also to try and build the black community. But the problem here is then, instead of what collectivist blames the individualists of doing, which is the atomization of the individual and their achievements, they are actually doing that by taking away from that experience and struggle and success of that person to actually have that position. I think Koketsu also hit the nail pretty much on the head when it comes to bias and the perceptions that people have about certain people of certain origins and so on. And then also, Sunflower also hit the nail on the head there, especially with the distortions of perceptions through media and influencers, where we believe that, you know, to be excellent is to drive a Lamborghini or to wear a suit or to have, let's say, an arm length full of degrees behind your name and so on, when that's not in actual fact anything to do with excellence. Excellence is to do about the person's character and their ability to take care of the people in their home and their families. But it's also important, and that now I'm going to probably veer to Xavier's side here. I think what we need to understand also is it's very important to have individuals within society to emulate. And sometimes people will find, how can I say it, attraction to individuals who they themselves can identify with. That's not to say that it's necessarily purely racially based. It could be anything based, but it might be that another individual will feel or see the need to emulate someone of their own ethnicity or culture which had achieved some measure of success. And I think that is the important thing that we need to distinguish. And I think that is something that we need to build on. So there's a lot of work to do, I think. Is the term necessarily negative then? I don't think so. But I also don't think in its current form that it's anything positive. And I think that's what that's what we need to build towards, is that positive image of people. And the only way we can do that is, as Sunflower said, is to regard them as individuals, must ensure that we understand that this success is their individual success and tell their story through their struggles, thereby acknowledging what they've done and also hopefully inspiring other people to achieve the same, if not more, for themselves. And that's what I've got to say on the matter here.
Xavier, go ahead.
Okay, before I start, I've got a lot to say on this, but it's basically comes down to about 4 questions. But before I start, just on the topic of race and to address something Koketsu said about speaking English, you know why? And I've noticed this. It's very strange because whenever someone says I'm not racist, I go through a series of questions with them. I'll say, would you adopt a black child? Yes, I would adopt. Would you adopt an Indian child? Yes, I would adopt an Indian child. Would you adopt a white child? Yes, I would adopt a white child. Would you adopt a Chinese child? And everyone stays silent, you know? And then when you hear a Chinese person speaking English well, you're like, what's wrong with him? You know? If somehow being racist towards Chinese people is not so bad until 2021, when it became bad in the US. And this is the contradiction of racism and how we see it. Chinese people are not easy. They're very polite people, and that's because of the history of their government being that you don't have individualism. You know, you don't have that individual identity. You are part of a government. You are part of something bigger. You do not exist outside of that. And, you know, people that have left China eventually became, you know, individualists, and they moved to America, they gained their identity. So, you know, Chinese racism doesn't really exist unless you're talking Chinese, Japanese. That's a whole different story. But coming back to black excellence, Sunflower is quite right in saying that this is an American ideology. And it's actually quite a positive American ideology. Coming, you know, it goes all the way back to the 1950s civil movement with the big figureheads, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, those guys. And, you know, they would wear what they called white men's suits. You know, they wouldn't wear the basic suits or the basic attire of that time. They would dress really fancy, guys. And I'm talking for days. I mean, this was a serious amount of money they spent to look good. Not because they had a lot of money, but they understood the value of a black person looking good in America meant that I am on equal footing as a white man. I shop at the same shops as a white man. I own the same attire as a white man. And this was a big part of the black movement, speaking English well, getting educated. This was black power, black empowerment. And this comes back to the 1950s. You turn around, you look at the apartheid era activists, all fancy suits, all well-tailored Italian shoes, luxury goods. This stuff originates all the way back to when Nelson Mandela first started earning a salary. He didn't wear rubbish clothes that he could just, you know, buy from Pep or whatever it was back then. He bought the best he could from Indian tailors in Johannesburg CBD. That's what you did. As a black activist, you did not dress badly, unlike the EFF, which does dress badly. But, well, yeah, anyway, long story. So, you know, I would like, you know, every black person to embrace, you know, black excellence, because it's a sign of pride. It's not a sign of racism. But then there are 3 important questions. When do we as a society, as Sunflower had said, and as Dodgy had said, and as Koketsu had said, when do we as a society stop recognizing a person as excelled based on their color? When do we say, you know what, this person has actually excelled? Well done. Not well done, you're the best black person ever to do Formula One racing. Or you're the first black person to be in the constitutional court, whatever the case is. That's celebrating the entire community more than the individual's contribution to society. And it kind of steals from them. And that's where black excellence has kind of lost its way. Because if we go back to the 90s, we look at people like Michael Jordan. Did we go and say Michael Jordan is the best black athlete ever, during the 90s? We never said that. Nobody said that. There was not one article, and I think, Joe, you would know, you were in the States back then. There was no article saying Michael Jordan is the best black athlete in the world, because it didn't need to be said. His talent spoke for itself. Now, fast forward to today, Naomi Osaka, massively talented player. I don't like her, but she is talented. And because she is partially black, right, there is so much pressure put on her. And I just did a quick Google search on black excellence. I just typed in the term black excellence. And the first 3 articles were like Vogue, I think it was Cosmopolitan in the United States. And it asked the question, is the pressure of black excellence getting to people of color? And it's a very important question, because you look at Naomi Osaka's breakdown. She doesn't just have the weight of, hey, I'm an excellent player, I need to keep up to the standard like Novak Djokovic. He doesn't have any pressure from his community to say, you got to be the best because you are black. Naomi does have that. A lot of people are looking up to her, as Dodgy said. A lot of young girls are looking up to Naomi and saying, hey, I could be tennis world champion in maybe 20 years or so if I practice hard enough. So there's an immense type of pressure because of black excellence on certain individuals. But then you go back to Michael Jordan. Did he have that pressure? No, he didn't have that pressure, because he came from a time where society was different. Our impressions of black excellence today are quite toxic. Whereas you compare it to before, very different. Very, very different. You look at Dr. Richard Maponya. I don't know if any of you know him. He's not very famous in, broader terms, but he was an excellent businessman, regardless of his color, and everyone came to respect him for that. So, it wasn't because, and I mean, this guy made his fortunes during the apartheid, when, being a black businessman was, not possible easily. So he did that. That is a sign of black excellence. That's something to be proud of, because you have not only uplifted yourself, you've uplifted your community and showed them what is possible as a black man in South Africa during apartheid. And, the likes of Herman Mashaba have all noted that, Dr. Maponya actually inspired them to do something more than just be another, black person in a mine. And the same thing is with Nelson Mandela. If you read his book, he looked up to the tribal chiefs, the tribal kings, etc., because they were not just miners in Johannesburg. They were signs of black excellence. They stood equally to white men of the era. And today we have the equality, but we don't have the perception that we need to see that black excellence is actually a pride thing. It's to show pride in your community. And then we go to, like Virgil Abloh. I don't know if any of you know him. Extremely talented designer, considered one of the, hallmarks of black excellence globally. When he died recently, a lot of people were sad about this, saying that, he's one of the few black designers. And this is the thing, he's not the only black designer to achieve something great. There are many black designers that have achieved something great. But because he was like the hallmark, everyone is like, oh my God, that's, a sign of black excellence. But then you look at like Naomi Campbell. Naomi Campbell is an icon in the fashion industry. I loved Naomi Campbell from the time I was 9 years old. I still do. So, she's not a sign of black excellence, but she was one of the first black models to run the runway. So, we've got these contradictions in the periods of the 90s where black athletes and black businessmen and black, let's say, politicians, Mandela was during the 90s. So, we're looking at those people where no one said, hey, that's black excellence. He needs to drive a Lamborghini. He needs to wear a suit. He just did. It was a sign of what he had become. It was a sign of pride. It's showing the rest of the black population, you too can become like me. It's exactly what Dodgy said. It's a role model thing. And then, coming to the last question, I think it's South Africa. Sunflower said it right. We are massively influenced by the US, but we don't like them. The US loves us. If you are South African, you land in New York and you say you're from South Africa, they're like, oh man, you from South Africa? And they start coming up with all these crazy ideas that you walk with lions and you kill tigers and crazy stuff. But, you're like a legend in the United States if you say, I come from South Africa. And we've seen that with Trevor Noah. He was nobody. He was nobody in the United States. Why would that guy give him a multi-billion-dollar show to run? Because people in America love South Africans. But people in South Africa hate Americans but love the culture. So it's very weird. But if you take black excellence up to the rest of Africa, and guys, if I tell you the rest of Africa is developing politically, ideologically at a rate that we cannot comprehend in South Africa, and we are honestly getting left behind. If you take Nigeria, despite the corruption, despite the political instability, there is black excellence in terms of they are making their own cars, they're making their own cell phones, they are trying to make their own tech. And the same thing is happening in Ghana, same thing is happening in Senegal. This is what they celebrate as black excellence. There's an artist you guys might know as a hip hop artist, Akon. And he was pretty famous in the early 2000s, made a lot of money. What does he turn around and do? He goes back to Senegal, right, where he was born, opens a massive solar farm, he's opening Akon City by 2030. That's his plan. His own city in partnership with the Senegalese government. And it is the most futuristic, or it's supposed to be the most futuristic city on the African continent. We're not talking about Cyril Ramaphosa's smart city. This is a real initiative. He's actually doing it. It's in process right now. And it's very realistic about what he's doing. And he's not the only person. You look at the billionaires that are in Africa. It's not Patrice Motsepe. These are guys from Nigeria. They own their industries. They innovate their industries. And that is black excellence. That is African excellence. And then I look at it. You'll see me retweet a lot of black businesses in South Africa. And for the record, according to the government, I'm a black person or a previously disadvantaged person, let me say. So, I look at a lot of black businesses in South Africa, and I will retweet businesses that have shown excellence on a global standard, not on a South African standard, but on a global standard. And you look at Batu. It's a South African manufactured shoe. He's a South African businessman. The man has made a very successful business based on a brand that shouldn't exist. South Africans love Nike, they love Adidas, they love Puma. Why would they buy something called Batu? Because of black excellence. And that's what it is. So you look at another guy, Tsepo Tsala, who's very talented in tailoring shoes to the standards, if not surpassing the standards of European shoemakers. And I know I sold luxury shoes and I've seen his product. And I love his product more than I love the Italian shoes that are made in Italy. That is black excellence for me. And he's proud of that. So I think, Mr. Smeg and Paul Trusi, sorry, Koketso, but that is not a sign of black excellence. That's a sign of black extravagance, And Julius Malema embodies this too. Jacob Zuma as well. He's got an Audemars watch that is worth 2 million rand. Living in Nkandla, he can walk out with that watch, and not down the road from him, there are people living in shacks that cost 25,000 rand. How many shacks can you produce with 2 million rand? And it's sitting on your wrist. That is not black excellence. That is black extravagance. And that has nothing to do with you being an excellent person, like Sunflower said. There is no substance in what you are doing. But if you are like the car maker Mureza, which is a South African, well, not a South African, an African car. Now, will that car do well in South Africa? No, because black excellence means owning a BMW. It doesn't mean owning a Mureza, which is made in Nigeria. But that is black excellence. I mean, we have manufactured a car on the continent, not using anything else. And it's purely African. That is black excellence. What else can it be? But in South Africa, black excellence means a 5 Series BMW or BMW or Mercedes S-Class. This cannot be. So, I'd love people to actually enjoy and try to emulate black excellence, but the right black excellence. The black excellence that Nelson Mandela, that the classics, Martin Luther King, all of them understood the importance of dressing well, being educated, and doing something for your community that uplifts your community. That is black excellence. So that is why I'm for black excellence. I'm not for black extravagance. In fact, I'm not for extravagance of any kind, even though I love luxury. Whether it's an Indian man owning a Ferrari 488 stuff for 14 million rand, or a white man owning a $60 million Pagani, which is sitting at Melrose Arch. But yes, that's my 2 cents on it.
Oh man, I mean, okay, just before I get back to Koketsa, and then I'm gonna have to let Koketsa be the final commentary on this. I do have to get going. I'm like, when Koketsa first said his opening remarks, and then Sunflower, I was like, okay, I see the problem with black excellence, like the term. But then Dodgy and Xavier, like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and I've said this on the show earlier. Before you guys brought it up, I'd never heard of the term. Really, I'd never heard of the term. I didn't even know that this existed. I mean, when Xavier spoke about the American side of it, it kind of rung a few bells. Like, okay, I remember people making big hoo-ha about this and that. But I didn't know that it was such a touchy thing. And now, which is why I enjoy this conversation, I'm in the middle, I think. Like, I think Xavier put it quite nicely. There's black extravagance, and then there's black excellence. And black excellence in some cases could be a good thing, because if it uplifts the community, if it inspires others. You often hear people and great athletes often say, like, if I can, when they win a medal, and no mention of their race, but just when they win a medal and they say, oh, I'm so happy I won this because there's some little girl in, Kailicha that can now know that this can happen, blah, blah. That's not a bad thing to me. That's aspiring dreams. You know what I mean? It's just saying that anybody can do anything as long as they put hard work and their minds into it, And again, without mentioning the race necessarily. So in that regard, I think black excellence, and I would agree with Xavier on this one, and Dodgy, it can be a good thing if used in the correct way, if I can put it that way, or said in the correct way. But yeah, Koketsa, let us know what you think now.
Okay, well, yeah, I loved what everyone said, honestly. So, right, let me come back down to earth, I guess, since you're giving me the final word on this. The road to evil is always paved with good intentions, right? And so the benevolence of black excellence does stem from the fact that there is some form of admitting that, as black people, we don't celebrate each other enough. We're very quick to bring each other down. Very quick. We're very quick to play the victim card as well, but we're very quick to put each other down, and we don't celebrate each other enough. And so, as an attempt to say we need to celebrate each other more, not just for ourselves, but those who will come after us, as an attempt to do that, let's then appropriate the term black excellence from the Americans, like Xavier just mentioned, so that it can all be under one umbrella, and it can effectively be not necessarily a movement, but when it's brought up for people to know exactly what we're talking about. But at its point of origin, in the States, we now have, remember the road to evil, we now have a scenario where there's levels to blackness even in the States. Now we don't say black people, now they say black and brown people. So sorry, Xavier, in the States, you're brown, you're not black.
One of us. One of us.
Right. And the fact that that had to be done, maybe not had to, the fact that that was done and was quickly accepted in the States does for me say that this entire thing was then rooted in that bigotry. Last week, was it 2 weeks ago, there were whole discussions now about foundational blacks, foundational black Americans, and them having a whole xenophobic thing now where they're effectively complaining about the immigration by hardworking West Africans. Your guys from Nigeria, they don't just come here, they go even to the States. They're essentially complaining that African immigrants in the States, who are some of the wealthiest black people in the States, are usurping them in terms of achievements, and therefore the monetary gain quickly tied to achievements. They're complaining about that. To put it simply, black Americans they now refer to themselves as foundational blacks. Foundational because their ancestry were the slaves who, quote unquote, built the country, right? They're now complaining about the influx of African immigrants who then are very hardworking. It takes a lot for you to leave your country. And, these immigrants then outperform them academically, get better jobs, walk away with the highest paychecks. And the same is true of Asian immigrants as well. Even immigrants from Latin America who come into the country legally. So the fact that that's happening for me is a clear reminder that this thing is stemmed in bigotry. But I will agree that black people do need to celebrate each other more. But I don't think it should be done under the banner of black excellence. Why? Because excellence is not a defining feature of non-black people, and poverty or struggle is not a defining feature of black people, to the effect that in its absence, it needs to be noted with a term like black excellence to show that it is against the norm. What we should be doing is A, celebrating people for who they are, regardless of their skin color. And I'll die on that hill. But B, if you want to intrinsically celebrate black people, right, then don't call it black excellence. Celebrate them as individuals. And I'll make examples of, excellent black people who aren't celebrated. A common one is, we lost Walter Williams last year. Not many people said a thing. He was a black economist. Thomas Sowell is in his late years. We're going to lose him one of these years. There we go. Right. We're going to lose Thomas Sowell one of these years. And unfortunately, he will die with most black people having never celebrated him for his excellence either. So if we're really going to do this, let's do it right and not necessarily tie it to, Xavier calls it extravagance. I just call it straight up opulence. Let's not tie achievement or excellent achievements to opulence, because that's not what excellence is. There are dictionary words for that. And I've just mentioned one and Xavier's mentioned the other. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. We do need to celebrate each other more, and in so doing, let's actually go ahead and do it properly.
All right. Excellent rebuttal. Yeah, sure, Xavier, go ahead.
Okay, so something, Koketso, you've actually brought up a good point that's put me now on the fence. I've always kind of been on the fence on that die on the hill point, which is we should be celebrating people regardless of their skin color. Because, people are not their skin color. If I mix in with Indians from Durban, I do not fit in at all. I actually feel a little bit uncomfortable, and they feel uncomfortable too. So I don't really blend in with my own.
Welcome to the coconut to
I
get in that
hate
field.
that
I
word.
feel the same way. I feel the exact same way. But that's okay. I
And
admit it. I don't deny it. I stick out
like,
like a
this is
sore
my
thumb.
normal voice. Yeah, this is my normal voice that I'd like to speak in, but when I'm with Indian people, I'm like, hey man, what's happening? I kind of like downplay it because I need to fit in now. And people laugh at me. My partner actually says I've got a suit voice. And she experienced this when I was working at Louis Vuitton. And I would, even when she came into the store, I'd be like, hey babe, how are you? And she'd be like, what's wrong with your voice? Because she's like a typical Indian. And she's like, what's wrong with your voice? I'm like, nothing. And she's like, why are you talking like that? Yeah. But
I think this
anyway,
is another topic altogether.
Definitely. Accents is based in bigotry. But yeah, it comes down to what Koketso said. We should be celebrating people for their, not just for their individual achievement, but for their achievement as a human being. Not because you're black, not because you're white, not because you're Indian. You won the Nobel Peace Prize because you are a gifted scientist and you've uplifted humanity. I doubt we can ever get there. I hope I will die on the hill with Koketso right next to me, saying that. But I do celebrate Black excellence because I believe it is a step there. And I don't think I'll convince Koketso because he is on that hill with me. So yeah, I think what we also need to be cognizant of is our heroes. And I think, being a kid from the 90s, growing up in the transformative years, which were quite happy years up until about 2003 in South Africa, we all wrote speeches about our role models, and about half the class, if not the entire class, always picked Nelson Mandela. And when I look at, unfortunately, we lost Nelson Mandela at a point where, he was not as good as he would have been 30 or 40 years younger. I think if he was alive today, he would not be a supporter of Black excellence. He would, much like Koketso, say that equality is not possible if such a concept exists as Black excellence. I think Martin Luther King would also, kind of be very angry with the so-called foundational Black Americans. That's not a term that will bring equality. And I think that's what most of our heroes of that era spoke about, was equality, and not equality. Oh, I'm a Black person. We're still going to have our own group. We're still going to be equal with you, but we're going to celebrate our achievements separately. That's not equality. So I'm on the fence, almost falling off towards Koketso's side. But I still believe Black excellence is a step there, maybe for the next generation or the next generation after it. And maybe some great calamity will bring us all back together as humanity and celebrate equality properly, not the way we're doing it now. But yeah, that's my closing argument. Koketso, you've kind of ruined me. Thank you.
All right, so look, we gotta end off. I have to go, unfortunately. But what I will do, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are still watching, thank you so much. Don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Before I let these lovely people go, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to all four of you for coming onto the show, being part of my first panel discussion for 2022, and being brave to just speak your mind and show people that even though some people on Twitter would regard us as all the same, they all think that we're far-right crazy people, we actually don't agree with everything, and that's fine. We can still be friends and have a laugh and have a discussion and learn from one another, which is what I love about this show and this Tuesday evening. And I hope that this will be an example of many more panel shows to come, to show people that there's nothing wrong with talking and having a discussion. So in closing, we'll start with Xavier. Just tell people where they can follow you, and if you have like a very quick 60-second thing to say, that's fine. Keep it short, but just where people can follow you. We'll start with Xavier, and then we'll go down to Dodgy, Sunflower, and then we'll end up with Koketso. So Xavier, go ahead. Where can people find you?
Perfect. Thanks, Joe. I gotta say, awesome show. It's the first time I've been on, and congratulations to Sunflower for your first ever appearance on YouTube. Hopefully, it's one of many more. As for me, I'm very simple. It's just Xavier B on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, but I'm not political. I don't put out ideas on Instagram. But Twitter is my base, and I've got about 40 accounts on Twitter. So follow me somewhere. And that's me.
All right, Dodgy.
All right. No, thank you, Joe, for having us tonight. It was a very lively, I would say, discussion. Certainly convinced me on a few things that I would have thought myself to be hardened in on a foundational level. Sunflower, it's finally good to put a voice to the face that I always see on Twitter. So it was a pleasure meeting you. I'm also with Xavier. I'm on Twitter as well, at the Dodgy ID list. I'm not really active on other social media platforms, so you can follow me there. That's about it.
Cool. Sunflower.
Xavier, this is not the first time I'm on YouTube. I have been on YouTube before, but not on a political discussion or platform such as this. But don't Google me. So,
Is it the Broken Promises
there's a lot
movie?
you'll find out about. Hey?
Broken Promises.
Oh, yes.
I love that movie.
Broken Promises, The House Knows, Zara. But yeah, I mean, this is not the first time I'm on YouTube, but be that as it may. You can follow me on, I had to actually Google see what my handle is because I forgot what it is. It's at Sunflower Srina. So it's Sunflower, Srina. And for the guys out there that actually thought that I was some white Afrikaner, now you know, I'm Indian and I'm a female. I'm not an Afrikaner male. I'm female. I'm Indian. So I hope we can put that to bed and put it to rest. And I just want to say that, whatever excellence there is out there, at the end of the day, black, white, Indian, colored, Chinese, green, blue, pink, alien, we are South African. Can we just unite? And if we unite, we can actually take this country forward. I've said it in the beginning, we want everybody to succeed. We want everybody to excel, because if you do, it lessens the burden on the taxpayer. And I hate seeing people stand in line trying to collect their 350 Rand grant or whatever. We can do so much more than just that. Let's just unite. That's my parting shot.
Cool.
Amen.
Koketsa.
Yeah, great being on. Back on the Joe Emilio Show. Always a great time, whether it's on your show, whether it's on other people's shows, where I find you there as well. Great conversation with great people as well. Guys, it was fun hanging out. In terms of where to find me, so it's Koketso Resani on Twitter. Yes, I use my real name, my real surname. This is my real face, and I use my real picture as a profile picture as well. Over and above that, so yeah, my website is literally about to go live soon. I've been working hard at it, tightening some screws at the back. I'm going to be writing quite a lot. Half of it political, philosophical. The other half will be tech. I am actually quite a big tech, contrary to popular belief, or to those who don't know. So look forward to that. And then over and above that, Radio Voice One. Check me out on the Man Patriot podcast, which is a free libertarian podcast out on YouTube, where you get to mingle with 3 black guys who have controversial views every Monday night, 7 p.m.
Man, I need to upgrade my voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, links to everyone is in the description, so please go give them a follow and subscribe to Man Patriot. The link is also there next to Koketsa's name. Once again, boys and girl, unless you identify as a boy. Just kidding.
I'm not the white Afrikaner. I'm not white.
Thank you guys once again. You guys can just log off. I'm going to end off the show in a moment. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. And you guys, any of you guys, welcome back on the show. I'm sure we'll have you again very soon. Cheers, guys.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as they log off, this is it. This is the show. I know it went long, eh? This is like, I'm looking at the time, 3 hours, 20 minutes. Woo! Okay, hopefully the future panel discussions will not go as long. I will try. I think it's just the topics. The topics is so much to digest. There's so much to dissect. So I'm going to try and limit the topics as much as possible. I think with the next panel discussion, we'll just stay on the one topic, which is the war. I don't want to use. Well, maybe it is a war. Or the war on the state of disaster, ending the state of disaster. That is the next topic for next week, Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. So please tune into that. Already signed up for to be a panelist is Ernst Van Zyl, Conscious Caracal from Afriforum, and Rob Hutchinson from Dear SA will be joining. There'll be maybe 2 more or 1 more panelists on the show. I'll be back Thursday evening, ladies and gentlemen, from 7 p.m. I'm changing the show now to 7 p.m. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 7 p.m. Where you're gonna have an hour with me, and then we're gonna do comedians roast the headlines. Always a lot of fun on that show, so please tune in to that. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. For those of you that stayed the full 3.5 hours, thank you. Thank you. I'm loving the new format of the show. I'm loving that it feels like a show, and there's more things, more ideas to come. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. Have a wonderful Wednesday, because I'm not going to see you then. But I'll see you on Thursday evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much once again. If you haven't yet, like, subscribe, become a member to the channel, please. Otherwise, oh, and that reminds me, Amy, thank you so much for becoming a headliner member. Thank you. That really means a lot. Thank you so much. So yeah, if you're a member to this channel, you do get perks, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah. Anyway, I'll see you Thursday evening. Stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.